Good evening, and I'll call the meeting to order. This is the City of Frankfort Board of Commissioners, March work session. Today is March 13, and I'll ask our clerk to call the roll.
Commissioner Thompson?
Present.
Commissioner Unger?
Present.
Commissioner Waldridge?
Present.
Commissioner May?
Present.
Mayor Wilkerson?
Present. And we're here with a quorum, and as usual, we'll start with ceremonial and recognition. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share? Commissioner Unger.
Right, I can get us started. So March is Women's History Month, so I wanted to sort of do a shout out. Last week was International Women's Day, and earlier in the month, the fire and EMS and police helped host the Women's and Networking event that the Chamber holds monthly, and that was an awesome breakfast and a time for women in the community to come together. So I want to thank staff for making an amazing breakfast, and I just thought it was really nice to come together, and we have a lot of great women on staff. Shout out to all the ladies up here, our city manager, and I'm not going to name everybody, but I think you know that you're very much appreciated, all ladies that work for the city. And it's just a good time to think about, sort of a call to action for us at a time when maybe we feel like some of our rights might be taken away pretty easily for women and people that are different right now. So just a time to stand up together and stand strong. So thanks all female staff.
Thank you,
That's all I got.
Commissioner. Thanks, Commissioner Wilder.
I just want to definitely yes to that and all of our staff. I won't repeat that, but also would like to just give a shout out to for Frankfort on Race Relations in regards to their library. It was a very successful watching party, I guess you could say, in celebration of moving forward and learning our history here in Frankfort. It was a great setting. I know that Lisa, Commissioner Unger and Mayor, you were there, and your wife were there. So it was just really great to see some of the interaction there, hear the stories of Frankfort, and see this moving and growing, moving forward. So super excited about seeing what else comes of that. And then also, just wanted to give a shout out to our women on the Diaz of just that you guys work so hard, and we are appreciative of all the women. And when we really look at it, this is probably the most exciting time in Frankfort that more women are leading in the city now in all these positions such as directors and stuff. And it's just simply amazing for us to continue to work forward and continue to work hard and show that we can lead cities, governments, and everything else. So super excited about that. So that's all I had.
Any other ceremonial recognition? Anything to add?
Kyle.
If not, Commissioner Thompson?
I know that most everyone knows this, that my aunt that passed away in December, Phyllis Liebman, who was a groundbreaking female member of this community and for the United States. She was the first speechwriter for a governor of Kentucky, and she was actually the first speechwriter for a governor of Georgia, who happened to become President of the United States. She was the communications director for a Fortune 500 company before that was actually thought to be possible. She's a member of the Public Relations Hall of Fame at the University of Kentucky, and she has a number of accolades that she had to her name. My family and all miss her. All of my family miss her very much. But the legacy she left as a strong and powerful woman at a time when she was not just breaking glass ceilings, because there were no ceilings to break at that time. She was simply a pioneer in that area. And so in honor of Women's History Month and International Women's Day, I would like to recognize her, as well as all of the women who are up on this dais, and also all of the wonderful women that work for me in my companies, and also my own sister and my own mother that are very important to me. So thank you for that opportunity.
And Commissioner Waldridge.
Last but not least, and I know that we all want to say thank you. We want to say thank you to all the Frankfort Plant Board workers, all of the waste management workers, all of the linemen that literally help get our community moving in the right direction. We tried to get that done as soon as possible as a community, and I know we were out with 2 or 3 days, but I know all of us feel the same sentiments, and we are grateful. It makes us even more grateful for our electorate and to have these people who know what they're doing, because obviously some of us don't. But super grateful for each and every person that literally worked day in and day out for hours on end, without food for long periods of time, and warmth and things. But just thank you for those men and women who were out there working for us to get our electorate back, so we can have the resources and the tools that we need for everyday lives that sometimes we look and maybe we're not as grateful, but I'm even more grateful for those. So I know that sentiment's across the board, and I just want to really mention that because it was really amazing, even though we were out 3 days. It was amazing. So thank you.
Now, I think it showed the benefits of having our own municipal utility here in
Yes.
Frankfort. It's publicly owned.
Yes.
Congratulations to
I
the plant
agree.
board. Thank you. Any other ceremony or discussion? We'll move on to citizens' comments. I will start with Natalie Cleveland. If you wouldn't mind approaching the podium here and just stating your name for the record. And we'll limit it to 5 minutes, but we may have some questions afterward. We
Okay.
need more time.
Hi, everybody. My name's Natalie Cleveland. I've lived in Frankfort for 29 years. I'm 31. I came here today to talk to you all a little about my thoughts on the Crown Act. I want to break down any barrier that stands in front of my children, and this is one that does. My son has long dreadlocks, and my daughter wears her natural hair in protective styles all the time, as do I. It goes back to March 20, as personal experience. March 2020, I worked with an employer here in Frankfort, and I wore my protective styles, and they were fine. But then I wore my natural curls. I wore my hair just like this. And I was called to the office and told that my hair was unkept, and I could not wear my hair like this to work. That happened for the rest of that week every day because I would not wear my hair. There's nothing I can do about my hair. It grew from my head. From that day forward, it became a hostile work environment for me. I was mistreated. I was disrespected. And HR for this job was in San Francisco. So I would email them daily about the treatment in the office and ask that they help me navigate this. Well, then COVID happened, and I had already put in a 2 weeks notice. And so the day that everything closed down was my last day of work, and I wasn't sure what I was gonna do because I couldn't find a job and I couldn't stay anywhere where I couldn't wear my hair. I filed an unemployment claim, and by the grace of God, it was granted because I did quit my job. But the employer did not fight back because they knew I had continuously emailed, I continuously reached out for assistance and help. And I just wanted to make sure that you all understand and you all know that this is very near and dear to me because no one should have to experience that when all they're trying to do is work and support their families. And thank you all.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Next, we have Katima Smith-Willis. Welcome back.
Thank you all for having me. I'm really excited to be up here to speak on what Natalie just spoke on, which is the Crown Act. Like I said, thank you for having me in this space and the opportunity to speak on the Crown Act. The purpose of the Crown Act is to prevent discrimination in the workplace and schools. In addition, the chemicals and straightening products have been proven to be detrimental to the health of Black women. Historically, Black and brown people have not been hired or lost jobs or even removed from schools, sadly, because of their natural hair and their protective styles. I was contacted by Commissioner Unger summer of 2021 about what other cities were doing, and me and her kind of just talked about the vision that we kind of would hope to see Frankfort take the direction. Throughout my work in advocacy, I have learned if you want change, you have to start the process of educating, persuading, and moving the community and elected officials yourself. Over the past year, I have expanded my advocacy work to collaborating with the ACLU of Kentucky, serving on the Breaking Barriers Council, continuing my work with the Human Rights Commission, along with being a member of the NAACP. Working with the ACLU during this legislative session and the last session, I recognize some of the barriers that we face to move something on a statewide level. So it's time that we move in the direction of Covington and Louisville and adopt an ordinance since we are the capital of Kentucky. CROWN is an acronym for creating a respectful and open world for natural hair. The law was first introduced in California in 2019, and the first CROWN Act expanded the definition of race in their Fair Employment and Housing Act and the State Education Code to ensure protection from discrimination in the workplaces and schools. The CROWN Act is championed as bringing equity and inclusion to the Black communities. The CROWN Act prohibits discrimination based on hair texture and natural hairstyles, specifically including styles such as afros, locks, twists, braids, and bantu knots. Other styles frequently associated with Black people. In short, you cannot use Black hairstyle as a proxy for race. Therefore, it limits discrimination. California became the first state to introduce the CROWN Act in 2019, and in the intervening years, several states and cities around the country have followed suit. There's two other cities in Kentucky, of course, Louisville and Lexington, and over 20 states that have passed legislation in various stages regarding the CROWN Act. So the CROWN Act is essentially a definition bill. We want protective hairstyles, and for education purposes, protective hairstyle definition, including but not limited to such hairstyles as braids, locks, and twists. It is traditionally an expanded definition of race. Expanded definition to include traits historically associated with race, but not limited to protective hairstyles. I believe the ordinance here in Frankfort refers to national origin. I've reached out to local businesses such as Uniquely You Hair Salon, I Am Barbershop, a few other barbershops as well, and local businesses. And a lot of the citizens just wanted to know what Frankfort's going to do to protect Black and brown people in this community. I've explained some of what the CROWN ordinance will do, but I kind of want to go over what the CROWN Act will not do. Basically, the CROWN Act will not trump OSHA, so it will not replace anything that's put in stone at a restaurant or their policies. For example, like a hairnet. If somebody was required to wear a hairnet at their workplace, they would have to, of course, follow that policy. Right. So the CROWN Act is not going to replace anything that's already set in stone for safety measures. Right. The CROWN Act will not affect policies like in the police department or in the military. Like I said, everything has been changed dramatically over the years, and the CROWN Act is just going to set something in place to make sure that Blacks and Browns are not going to be discriminated against. To give you an example, in 2017, a Black woman that worked at Banana Republic was told that her box braids were too urban and unkept. Sadly, this also happened in the schools as well. There's been a correlation between hair straightening products and uterine cancer and fibroids, so it's literally physically harming Black women in the community.
1 minute.
These policies, including school and workplace dress codes, are rooted in pervasive stereotype that Black hairstyles are inferior and have been subjected Black people to psychological and physical and financial harm. Hair discrimination is a real issue for us, so ensuring these protections are in place for all communities, specifically in Frankfort, is a step in the right direction. There is no fiscal impact on creating an ordinance or law. It'll cost us nothing to be fair and equitable, so I really hope that we can pass the CROWN Act together. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katima.
I guess I'll just share.
Commissioner Waters.
I appreciate you sharing. I think that we have checked all those boxes in our ordinance. We followed along with Louisville and Covington for those all to be checked off. So appreciate you bringing those forward once again because those are checked off in our ordinance and they follow right along with Covington and Louisville. And some of the facts that you've thrown out as well were shared on social media and things that's what we're pushing toward. And yes, no matter what we pass here, it does not trump state or anything as far as like military. But I will have to speak that the military is coming a long way, so they're making some adjustments as well for women and for women with color also. But we also want to make sure that we include by name our albino as well in those as well, because sometimes we look over them with Black and brown people because there is a group for those. So just so that we can add those in there moving forward and making sure we come. But appreciate it. All of our boxes are checked.
Melanie Van Houten.
Thank you, guys. My name is Melanie Van Houten, and have been a member of this community for pretty much most of my life. I'm here for two reasons tonight, but right now I'm speaking in support of the Crown Act. And I just wanted to say that while I may not be impacted personally by this kind of discrimination, when I see this kind of movement happening, I could say, well, that doesn't impact me, so it's probably not real, or it doesn't matter, or it's not worth paying attention to. But I don't say that. What I do is I look to other members in the community who would be directly impacted, and I listen to them, and I respect their voices and their experiences, and I hope that our community can come together and do that and support this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. And is Chris here yet? You want to speak on behalf?
Well, I just,
Well,
I mean, I can, but I
can
just
we
want to
do that?
introduce them to you all.
Speak for someone else on the citizens'
We
comment.
can do.
You're welcome to. Or we can, that's the last one we have on the list. Chris Phoebus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's,
Oh, we have Terry Bradshaw.
yeah, we look alike. So, Chris Phoebus and Nathan Brown will be the owners of the Daniel Boone Distillery, which is on your agenda for later tonight to approve a rezone, that has been through the planning commission. Eric has got all that information for you. This was just a city attorney, wrong person. City manager Hay had asked that, they come before you just to introduce themselves, just so we all could get to know the newest business that will be in Frankfort. He's on his way. I just have no idea where on his way, so I'm sorry. And he has to be back for another meeting. She was so graciously put us on the public comments instead, so I don't know why he's running late, but
We're gonna take it up in the action item, so if they happen to show up, we'll see if we can
that'd be great.
adjust. but
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, may I ask for us to
Yes,
move
Commissioner
that?
Waters.
May I ask that we move the Crown Act up so we can go ahead and discuss that and go ahead and vote on that? Babies.
Anybody have an objection to moving action item number 8, the first reading before staff reports?
Yes,
Is that,
please.
anybody have any objection to that?
Baby's getting restless.
Okay, so before we get to staff reports, we're gonna go to action item number 8, which is a first reading. Looking for a sponsor.
I'll sponsor, but
Commissioner-
could we open for discussion first, just for anyone that, on the board to, if we can, please?
Yeah, let's,
Yeah, it'll be.
Right after?
yeah.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
fine with that. I just don't
Yeah.
wanna keep
Yeah.
going where they
Follow
can't have
the-
discussion.
first reading sponsored by Commissioner Waldridge, and I'll turn it over to our city attorney.
Can we please have a co-sponsor?
An
Could we have a
ordinance amend-
co-sponsor?
Yeah,
I think Lisa wanted the
I
co-sponsor.
appreciate that.
I would have no problem with the co-sponsor. Does anyone have an objection to
Nope.
having a co-sponsor on this one? All right.
Thank you.
Co-sponsored by Commissioner Waldridge
Thank you.
and Commissioner Unger.
Great, okay. An ordinance amending City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances, Section 96.02, to add a definition of national origin which includes natural hair to be known as the Crown Act. This ordinance amends Section 96.02 of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances related to discrimination in housing, public accommodations, and employment to clarify that discrimination includes unwanted touching, including the touching of hair, and to amend the definition of national origin to include natural texture and color of hair, hairstyles, and protective hairstyles.
Okay, do we have any discussion on this?
May I ask a question?
Yes, Commissioner Thompson.
I am 100% behind this ordinance. I think it's high time we recognize this definition. I do wonder if this would also protect individuals who may also have braids, things of that nature that may not necessarily fall under that particular definition of African American or a person of color. And I asked that question because I had one employee, and he's a male, and he has, braids and dreads, and it was fine in our office, but I would hate for him to be discriminated against because of his hairstyle, because I think he's a fine individual. So what I don't want to do is to carve something out that would prevent that would allow for discrimination for one group and protect another. I want there to be protection for all, and I don't want to in any way detract from the importance of this to individuals of color. I just want to make sure that anyone that chooses to have their hair or any feature that they have, that they cannot be discriminated against for that act. And I hope that is taken well by the board and not in a manner that is in any way offensive in any manner that is.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, and I understand where you're coming from, and if you read, that's what some of the key words are for, hairstyles that are most closely associated with Black people, of natural origination of where they're stemming from, but it says most closely associated with that, so I would say that braids would be covered there, and nor in what Ms. Ross shared. I'll let her explain that portion, but we'll go from there.
What about the city attorney? Are we covered under that?
No. So, and that is not to say that we absolutely can't go forward with adding additional requirements, particularly at the city and our personnel policy. That's something we could always look at. That's an easy place to start. This was particularly, if it's tied to national origin or race, I think it is absolutely protected per the ordinance.
Yes.
But I think once you step outside of the recognized categories of discrimination, so sex, race, age, over 40, national origin, et cetera, the Human Rights Commission ordinances don't really go a lot further than that. They stick with the traditional categories of discrimination. So this was a major first step, I think, to make sure we got this part
Yes.
taken care of. But that is absolutely not to say that we can't look into other options for more protection, especially within the city itself as an employer.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Well, and I just wanted to add that, if that's a provision that we need to add, I definitely want to take that in consideration. But in the verbiage of that, it does go with natural hair. It is pushing that, so I want to make sure that all is covered.
With national origin.
Yes. And so that goes back to the origins.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, people have their hairstyles or whatever. I just want to make sure that they are covered, because an expression, or as they stated, with braids, natural items, whether I want to protect my hair, protective hairstyles, I think that those are, or should fall in this, not just based on race, but race is a focus because we are the ones that are discriminated against the natural growth of our hair.
I understand.
And so it is a main focus, but then it steers away from, well, you're just doing that with your hair, is, I guess, and that's something we would need to protect as well, is personal expression.
Personal expression, I'm not sure how far with the Human Rights Commission that we can go into just a matter of personal preference as opposed to something that's in an established category of recognized discrimination. Now, I haven't looked into that, but I can definitely do it. But I can say that this isn't just with the ordinance. I specifically put it under national origin and did not add a definition of race for several reasons.
Yes.
But I think that national origin gives a broader set of people who could tie that in their hairstyles to their national origin. So no, it will not necessarily protect someone who chooses a hairstyle that's not related to their national origin, but we can absolutely look into, especially at the city as an employer. I think it's.
And I don't want to. I do not want to amend this ordinance as it stands right
Sure.
now. I want to move forward with this ordinance, and I want it to pass as is.
Gotcha.
Okay, because I thought that would have included in that, but I see what you're talking about, where it goes back to the origin because the first whereas. Okay,
Yes.
That's fine if it's something we need to bring back, but this is something that we need to pass. Frankfort needs to push this forward as it's still lingering in our capital halls. You know, as a black woman, biracial woman, my hair can get very big at times. And sometimes I just don't want to do it, so I put it in a bun. That seems to be maybe white appropriate for some, but that's just because I don't want to do my hair and it takes forever to detangle. And I also have a kid back there also with a head full of dreads back there that is very tedious. Some may look that his hair is messy, but that's just the origin of his curl, whether that's a C curl or whatever it may be. Our curls are different, and I should not, nor should anyone in this community or out here today have to fight for something that's natural for us, our color and our hair. And it just continues on. And no matter where we start making leaps and bounds moving forward with women of color or just people of color, we're making strides. Now they're coming after us after our hair. And it's just one thing after another. I'd hate to see what they're coming for next, but we're going to be a strong community and be able to get through that. And so that's why I'm bringing this up. When Lisa brought it up, I'd mentioned to her that we were working on our diversity person our diversity person to pull that through. So it's sort of set for a little while. When the city did not hire a diversity person because of the recruitment and things, it's sort of set for a moment. And then it was just like something I said, we've got to do this now. And then do it in March. I spoke with Lisa on it as well and brought it back up. For us to do it in March. And then Louisville came down, supported it in the Capitol with the Queens of Kentucky as well. And I just want people to know that this is our natural look. And as one stated, her experience in Frankfort, my experience as running for office in 2018 was, do I wear my hair natural curly or do I straighten my hair to be appropriate that people may vote for me one way or the other? And of course, you see that it stayed natural and I rocked my curls. So, but that's just things that we as black women or people of color should not have to sit and worry about how we wear our hair. Same thing with University of Kentucky. You know, I worked there and I had my hair straightened when I went in to interview. And 4 days later, I went in to go fill out my paperwork and they had no clue who I was because my hair was out to here. So things like that should not occur in today's society. So I appreciate all of your support and Kelly for making that third to be able to move this forward to get here today. That's why that discussion is here because as I spoke with the mayor, this is something pertinent for us to go ahead and move forward so we can lead Kentucky. And if Kentucky follows forward, great. If not, we're going to push this and hopefully KLC and all of our cities will move forward with or without the state. So.
Any other discussion on this? If not, yes, Commissioner Unger.
I'm going to keep it very brief. I just want to say, you know, I'm here to support all citizens. I want to make sure we're protecting our citizens from any race-based form of discrimination. Yeah, I think Attica Scott was the one that inspired me to try to, if this was, you know, on my list of things to do when I was, I think it was probably one of the first things I talked to the mayor about. So I'm glad we are here 2 years later. So it feels good.
And Mayor, I only had one comment in my email, and that was from a Frankfort resident in regarding that they just wanted to be sure that employees still had, how do I word this, still had the opportunity to discuss cleanliness or neatness, as one particular person stated. And I really didn't know how to answer that because my hair could be really messy for some people. So I think it's on personal bias of how we look at one another and how we see one another. So my neatness may not be your neatness. And so I think that that is not something that we address as far as this is concerned. This is for us to be natural and to be ourselves and not feel like we have to fit into a mold.
Without any objection, I think we could put this on the tentative agenda for the March voting meeting.
Yes.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you guys for being here.
We'll now move on to staff reports.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to welcome Chuck Knowles back for a different project update. Not Tiger, but I think it's the same great team, and also Chase Wright from Strand to come up to give us an update on Home Street and the Raise Grant on the work so far.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Just a little bit of background. Strand was issued a notice to proceed November 1st. They basically have about an 11-month contract, and hopefully by Thanksgiving, we'll have an approved preliminary design for the Home Street corridor, which includes High Street, as well as an approved environmental document. So I'll let Chase come up and give you a little more detail about what they've been doing and kind of what they see coming next.
Good evening. So the Home Street corridor extends and it takes place, it starts at High Street and Main Street, continues down High Street, and then at Home Street all the way out to North Gate, kind of at the interchange. So we've completed our survey activities, and right now we're in the needs assessment phase. And so Chuck and I, along with our kind of broader team, met with over 30 stakeholders over the last couple weeks to be able to listen to what they feel like they need for the corridor. And so we've gotten feedback from residents, business owners, general stakeholders, and landlords. So it's been a pretty diverse group. And we've also got an online survey. It's a brief survey. It's on the city's website. As of yesterday, we had over 145 responses. And so the community is providing good feedback on the project. And so this project's a complete street project. And one thing that we've heard from some citizens, is it going to be a 4-lane or 5-lane facility? And the Home Street corridor over the years has had a lot of different ideas for the corridor dating back 25 years. And so one of the things we're trying to do is this corridor needs to be right-sized. And there's not pedestrian facilities along the corridor in many locations. And as I was driving in today, I was a little late because I thought the meeting was a little bit later. But so I drove through and was watching people walk along the side of the road with no sidewalks, and that's something you see almost every single time you go through there. And so providing affordable options for people to walk and bike, and then the steps this commission took to go after the TAP grant for the part of the 5-mile loop. One of the things that through talking to different folks, is there's a 26-foot tunnel underneath Wilkinson Boulevard. And so there's some great opportunities for the city to continue the work that you all have done. And so, in the project itself, some of this will be parallel initiatives, but in some ways of getting safely across Home Street and connecting the neighborhood to the trail facility, this project's going to be able to tackle together. And so we're taking that needs assessment along with traffic evaluation, parking, be able to understand the on-street parking needs. A lot of these neighborhoods don't have direct access, so they use on-street parking. So we want to look at alternatives that maintain on-street parking, and then understand how well it's utilized, and that'll help kind of right-size some of those alternatives. So the next step will be, after we complete the needs assessment, we'll be working with our kind of greater team, which includes McBride Dale Clarion, who's the city county comprehensive plan update. And one of the neat things they're going to be able to do for the project is take a deeper dive into land use along Home Street. And so this isn't just a transportation project. We're trying to understand how the two can be related and help revitalize the community, maybe better utilize some of the larger parking lots along the corridor. So trying to utilize the transportation dollars to kind of look broader at the community. Human nature so we have a landscape architect on our team. We've got some environmental groups, so we really want to understand the true impact of the project to the community, so that you all can make informed decisions about which alternative goes forward for this area. So as Chuck mentioned, it's really wrapping up at the end of this year. So this summer there'll be some public involvement opportunities where people can see the alternatives and what those mean, and we'll continue to have public interaction where we can get feedback to help inform what these opportunities and constraints are.
Any questions?
Will there be, prior to the November timeline, will there be an updated, this is what our thoughts are, this is what our plans are, kind of, this is where we are at this point, updates? Because I think, let me lean into the microphone a little bit. I think one of the issues that a lot of folks in Frankfort are feeling is that things that need to be fixed, that everyone in town knows they need to be fixed, are not fixed in a timely manner. So what I don't want to do is let them think that we're not addressing an issue, but that we're taking our time so that it's done well and done right. I appreciate the fact that you're going to have pedestrian walkways. I wish we could get some of those on Shinkle Lane as well. And I think that the Home Street corridor is so important not only downtown aspects of where we're going, but it's important for the citizens who live in that area but travel it every day to come into work. And every time I go down there, I feel like I'm going to lose another filling. And it's just one of those things that we have to. We want the community to understand that this is a priority and that we are doing it right. And I would just ask that if there are any updates, that you'd be willing to come back to us and let us know what those are as they come through. I'm very excited the fact that 145 people gave responses. I mean, I don't know if we've ever had 145 responses to anything we've ever asked. So clearly you can see that Home Street is important to this community. So thank you for your work. I hope you will take it with great responsibility, that this is very important to where we are headed in the future. And I know you guys will do well. Just please keep us up to date.
Yeah, one of the things on the pavement, these are all state facilities, and we've heard that from a number of the residents that have met with us, and it's rough.
It is.
And so we've relayed that. Chuck's relayed that with our state partners. They're involved with the project team. It's important for them to hear that section of road isn't. There's really no way to. Yeah, there's not a roughness factor you can ride on it. So
It's worse than the wooden roller coaster.
It really is.
Or just an old brick paved street.
Yeah, it's just unacceptable with the way that it is. And I hope the state understands that when I call, or if Chuck calls, or if you call, or the city manager or the mayor calls, it's not because we're just trying to be the squeaky wheel, because that seems that it would be an easy fix. And I think that's part of the frustration with some of the folks in Frankfort, and I hope that our partners at the state will hear our cries.
I think one of the things that they challenging for them is it really needs to be fully reconstructed.
Agreed.
And I think that they're a little afraid to take a huge investment and do that, but that doesn't mean they can't do something. And I think hearing that, and we'll relay the messages. I mean, it's one thing when you hear directly from somebody that lives along the corridor. I mean, it's that is powerful. So can they do something now in the interim while additional funding is being requested?
Right.
Commissioner Watt?
I just have two things. One, when you were mentioning like the 45 that have already done, do we have a breakdown on who they are? Are they state workers that take that in from Versailles Road? How many of those are renters versus owners? Do we have that breakdown?
Well, I don't have it in front of me, but one of the questions we asked was, do you live here? Do you rent here? To try to get that breakdown, because a lot of times what you get is feedback. It's good feedback from the overall community, but you would kind of have to understand what the overall community wants versus what the area needs. And so those are some of the questions to try to understand the kind of feedback we're receiving, because they may not think on-street parking is as important if they're just driving through it.
Right.
But the people that live there are the ones that park there.
Right.
And so we want to understand that, and then we're looking at other alternatives. Can the trail facility be pulled off of the corridor? There's some sections where it's really tight. There's a 40-foot right-of-way, and so how do we look at mitigate those impacts? Is there some city street improvements that could be done on the alleyways to have on-street parking? So just try to figure out where the needs are, and then work with the overall group to help meet those needs. And this project will have real impacts. It's a tight corridor. But it's just kind of balancing the overall needs of the community.
And my second question is that I'm hoping that we're going to plan on being proactive with all the businesses in that area, so we don't have any hiccups like we did here on 2nd Street, that we keep them involved and know what step by step is, so in case they have to move traffic another direction or whatever during this whole process, that they do have a voice in this, so we don't come up on hiccups that they were unaware of this. And working with the state, I think it's Cart Garage, or their car garage is there, isn't it, where they pick up vehicles and gas and stuff.
Pool.
Yeah, their fleet. Yeah, just to make sure that they're able to get in and there from their gas area and their fleet and stuff, that everyone's in on that communication.
Chuck was able to set up a meeting with the finance cabinet I think maybe next week. And
good.
I think one of the unique things is how much property the state owns along the corridor that may or may not be to the highest potential. And so it's what kind of conversations can we start?
Yeah.
And this is a major project. I mean, the city's tackling, it's really a state infrastructure that you
Yeah.
all know how much important it is to the community. So you've taken the initiative to tackle it.
Yeah.
And so trying to have a roadmap for how this project can be funded. This is, it's over twice as long as the Tiger project,
Yeah.
and you're talking about some significant infrastructure needs.
Yeah.
And so how the project gets phased and implemented and working with those major stakeholders.
I'm excited.
Me too.
Thank you, Chase.
Thank you.
No, welcome back, Chase.
I know, just stay around as long as you want.
One final comment. This project is funded with the RAISE grant through preliminary engineering and environmental assessment. There is no more money after that. So, city will apply for additional RAISE grant funding next spring, using the information cost estimates from what Strand does as part of their work. But I want to emphasize that we need to be aggressive in trying to seek other funding for this, or this project's going to sit. And so I just want to let you all know that if you got any extra money at home, bring it to us.
Chuck, just
Bring in
real
the-
quick, what is the total amount of the grant funding that is already allocated to that particular project?
$616,000 of federal RAISE grant money, and then with city match and a little bit of money from Plant Board, a little bit of money from Columbia Gas, we're matching that to $770,000 for a total. So we're matching 154,000.
So we're at 750?
770 total.
770 total.
Yeah, 616 federal and 154
I'm not
local match.
I'm not great with numbers and what construction costs, but
There's
If
no
it-
construction.
No.
This is
just
only
planning.
planning and
Yeah.
design.
planning and design.
Yeah.
So, but my question is, if there is planning and design that we are putting $700,000 to, this is going to be a multi-million-dollar
Oh, absolutely.
project
Yeah.
to make this happen. So,
Yeah.
at some point, it's not just the grant funding. We're going to have to look, for a
Well, yeah.
For
funding.
another, like Tiger Grant.
right,
Yeah.
On
right,
Second Street, that's
Right.
the type of thing we need.
Well-
But we need this to
Yeah.
yeah.
And
show.
this is a state route, so you'd like to maybe see KYTC come up
Okay,
with a little
that's what I
money
was
for this
thinking.
also at some point in time. But, you could claim that as part of a state match when you apply for federal funding. But we've got to get a commitment from KYTC to do that. Yeah, we expect this project to be very expensive to do it from one end to the other construction. That's why, as Chase mentioned, it might be more prudent to break it up into sections by priority, which is most needed first, and then follow that.
Yeah. So when we say KYTC, we're saying that all of Home Street is a state road?
High Street and Home Street.
Home Street,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
And
it's all
so,
theirs.
I mean, I like that we're pushing it forward because we've received so many complaints from our residents, and we want to make sure that we're doing all that we can as a city, whether that's asking for funds and
Right.
grants and things through our fund area. But, this is a state road, and so I just want residents to know that we're doing all that we can to push this forward and let the state know, hey, we're willing to put our money where our mouth is for our residents, and we also need them to step up because that is a highly used area for the state coming and going. And some of the worst parts are right there at that little sort of circle area going into Home Street. And so I agree that maybe we start at the beginning of Home Street and maybe work down if we have to work in sections, but I think that we really need the transportation area to step up, definitely. So-
It would be favorable to
Yeah.
seek some other source of funding at this point in time, so
Definitely.
that when we get the current work done, we
Mhm.
can then proceed into final design.
Okay.
So that's something that I think we need to look at.
Is that something we can ask our lobbyists to look into, Mayor?
on the state level.
Once we're ready.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We
When
have
it
to
comes time.
complete, we need to complete all these documents first, and then we're
Right.
able to go after
But
construction
that's something that
dollars.
we can put it
I
down
think
on the
that's
list.
That's the type of project
Yeah.
we need help with.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the only other thing is the RAISE grant has a tight time frame, and so
Okay.
a project like this has more right-of-way impacts than you would have on Second Street.
Okay.
And so just understanding that may complicate, and so it may need to be a step process. So maybe the state could come alongside you all and help advance the final design and right-of-way to get it more ready for that RAISE grant. So utilizing you all, and I've said this publicly, but you all have done probably a better job than any community in the state at getting federal funding. You know, if you look at this, you're reconnecting, you know, all the different projects that you all have done, y'all have been very successful. And so just continuing that and going after this funding, not other, I mean, you all have been awarded 3 of these competitive ones, and they get selected on, it's about 6% of them get selected. And so you all have an amazing track record.
Huh, say that again.
Well, I mean, it is true.
I love it.
right now.
Well, I mean,
I just appreciate staff
especially-
continuing to push forward
Yeah.
and all that they do with Chuck and Rebecca and everyone that pushes these grants through and helps us and those people and
Your
what
your
Seth
rival
and all of
Lexington,
those people,
Louisville
so.
for what they're able
It's
to
awesome.
get, which is really amazing.
it's awesome.
Just getting started, thanks.
There we go.
Anything else?
Celebration on Home Street.
I appreciate the update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we'd like to welcome Chief Monroe is here to provide some additional information on the work he and his team have been doing to assess the need for AEDs. I know that his team started working soon after the football player was injured and looking at places, talk about cost, and also provide a little update on our fire station and needs for the construction documents.
All right, first we'll talk about the AED stuff. I think it was January, you all kind of tasked me with a needs assessment for the city and where we were at AED-wise and having an AED program. So I went and met with several of our other department heads, and I've kind of found out that we have 3 areas that we need to improve as a city. Education, outreach, and then we need to increase our number of AEDs. So we've got the education and outreach really rolling. We did 108 city employees the past 2 weeks on CPR. We have had
Yes.
we've had 19 other CPR classes, not counting those, with another 89 people, and we have, I believe, 3 scheduled for county schools coming up in the next month. So we're really pushing CPR through our community. So we've had almost 200 people certified just this year. The bigger thing is the AEDs, and perfect world, we're going to need about 40, and we would have like the perfect AED program for a city. The problem with that is they're $1,500 a piece, so we're looking at about $60,000, between that $60,000 and $70,000 mark to outfit perfect world everything we want. We can do this in steps, we can do this in phases, or we could buy them all through the different department budgets. It's going to be, I'll get with the city manager and we'll figure out how we can do that, and I'll draft a memo for that for you all to see. So that would be AEDs all through the parks, because right now we don't have really any at any of the fields. We do have, I've got with the schools, county schools are really good. They're covered pretty well. Frankfort Independent was lacking in a couple of areas, and I got with the FOF and Local 1019, and they purchased 2. So there's about a 6-month lead time, so we're waiting on those. They were ordered about a month ago. So we're waiting on those right now, so we can give those to them just as a donation from those organizations. And that will give them some for their sports fields that are off-site. They have one at each school, and they have one in their gym, but they don't have any off-site. I've been working with Blair before she left, and still kind of continuing with Rebecca on getting a portable unit for all the things we have downtown. We know the tragedy at the Black Cat happened, and this will give us AED access that kind of these people check out. They sign for it, have it in a location. So we're working those details on that as well. So, like I said, 60 to 70,000. That would be the overall cost on a picture perfect AED program for this city. That's also, I know money, I know budget, so we could also implement that very slowly if we need to. And that would be getting them on all police cruisers, on the supervisors. That's getting them out in all the parks, roads, garage here in City Hall. Just countless places have AED access everywhere. Got with Sean, you know, all the different off-site pickleball, things like that. We'd have AEDs at all these locations for the stuff that's going on. So do you have any questions on the AED stuff?
If we purchase, I didn't know how usually this works. If you purchase at a higher amount, are we going to receive a discount for the total number that we purchase?
It wouldn't be that much because we already get a huge discount, because how we would do this is we'd buy them through the fire department with our account through, because we actually got with Zoll. Zoll was a lot cheaper than Stryker. We use Stryker for our stuff because the life packs are, we're better with the life packs as far as the way our protocols are ran. But AED wise, Zoll was way better price range and would be great for community AEDs. But, so it would be, if we would have to buy them through the fire department, through our accounts to get that discounted price.
Do you think we need 40 more or 40 total?
40 total.
40 total.
Yeah, right now, it's, the one that Sean has in the golf course is pretty old. And you're looking at trying to replace pads and all this stuff. And the fire department will keep up with all if we purchase them all, put them in place, we will keep up with all the expiration dates, all the battery lives, all that stuff. We can put them on. There's actually ways we can load them up in a website and we can see them all, see how their battery life is, see all those things, and keep the maintenance up on them.
And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And Kentucky State had AEDs as well, and I spoke with him, and they only had really one major concern to add, and that was the battery life at the one at the stadium, football stadium, was not, I guess, able to stay charged or whatever, so that is part of that as well. So we have spoken with Kentucky
Yeah,
State.
depending on the
and their
brand, you
needs
got a
as well.
5 to 10 year battery life, depending on the brand.
Yeah, and I think that they're the one at the stadium that would cover football and any events there in baseball. But that is on our
And
list as
speaking
well,
of that
so.
stuff, I've also met with the schools, and we are getting our staff on duty access to any sporting events. We want to try to get them out in the community as much as we can. So
Yeah.
we'll have our stuff there as well,
Yeah.
and our people.
And do you get an alert when the battery's low? Is there a way on an app or
I'm not
something
real
like that?
familiar on the website, but I believe it's something like that. We can pull it up and look, and I think there is alerts.
And the one with the portable one, I think, is huge. And I brought this up when we brought up the black cat, death. Just for people to go through Blair or the fire department to check out one for races and things. An AED could have maybe saved that father's life if we had had one, possibly. So it's just for us to be able to do that. And if we don't have a place to safely check that out, I had brought up maybe DFI, I brought up the chamber, or maybe even tourism, holding one at their location, so we know if we're downtown where we could go to grab one. And if it was in Robin Antonucci's office, then we all know where to run to go get one, and we're not searching on where that is. Even spoke with Monroe on maybe even putting it on, we agreed on maybe near the stage or something like that,
Right.
so people knows where it's at.
Emergency
So
management can
Yeah.
have it.
Yes,
Those
have
who are
Yeah.
providing
emergency
security,
management.
public
just where
works.
everyone knows
Working
where
out
that
how we can
location
have
is.
it located
Yeah.
where everyone knows what it is, and it'd become common that everyone knows that's what
Exactly.
AED is eventually.
Right,
So.
right.
Commissioner Thompson?
This is mainly for the commission. The latest numbers from 2020 show that 1,700 American lives were saved by the use of an AED. If an individual is shocked with an AED, they have a 38% chance of being discharged from the hospital, whereas with only CPR, they only have a 9% chance. And the survival rate of a massive coronary event is 95% if you were shocked within the first 3 minutes. I cannot imagine what those numbers are going to be like after 21 and 22, and what they will be in 23 and 24. And I think and it was one of the first things that I brought up in one of our work sessions in January, that I thought this was very important for us. It just so happened to correlate with what happened to Damar Hamlin, and I think that this is something we spend a lot of time arguing and discussing things that do not have an impact on the daily lives of our community. Each one of us has children that have played or will play sports or be in the schools and will be at these ball fields. I can think of nothing more important than allocating $70,000 to this project to make sure this happens, so that it happens not just soon, but that it all happens at once. I think this is something that if it's possible to make this happen, then we need to do it. I understand the financial responsibilities, and I understand the realities of the financial position that we're in, but if money is an issue, then we're missing the point. This saves lives. It's going to save somebody's life in our community, and we owe it to the families and the citizens that will come into this community as sports tourism picks up. We owe it to them to have the best facilities, as well as the best EMS, and as well as the best AEDs available for the unfortunate event that we've already had it happen in our community. We can't have it happen again and not be prepared, at least to try to save a life. And I would ask that, I don't know if the city manager or the mayor would entertain a motion at this point, but I would like to make a motion that we ask staff to work towards coming up with an allocation of those funds sooner rather than later.
Well, Jason, Chief Monroe is already working on a memo, so
Great.
once he completes that, he was waiting to hear back for a few more things, and we would send it to you guys.
Great.
I think,
Yeah.
I don't know if we need a motion, but I think no one has any objection. He can keep working on that, and we'll.
I can have the memo
consider
for the meeting or whatever.
I don't think
I'll
we
give it
need
to
to
you.
have the motion.
I don't think so.
You care for?
No, go ahead.
I just want to make a quick comment, and I'm totally supportive and completely agree. You know, it's a drop in the bucket if we can save a life. So thank you for doing this bit of work and bringing it to us. And you know, one of my best friends was one of the people that tried to intervene and help him. So I know how tragic it was for our community. So it would be great to have it. So thank you.
You know, it would really help us out a lot too. We actually, when you look at the statistics, we have a very high ROSC rate for our service. So we are above the national average on far as return to spontaneous circulation, which is great because we have quick response times. But this would really make those go even higher. So
Well, I just want to say
Thank
thank
you.
you for allowing us to do first aid and safety.
Yes.
I mean, just getting us prepared to know how to do it. More people in the community. I mean, in between us going to get an AED, someone needs to be working on that heart. Someone needs to be working on that, and to prepare to have this open for almost 200 people right now that are certified, basically have learned how to do this is just amazing. So
yeah,
thank
and
you.
there's several more scheduled. So
Yeah.
I've really pushed that out there that we need to do as many CPR classes as we possibly can. So
I love it.
our personnel have really stepped up and really got out and done it. So
Yeah.
I was over here at the one I think Alicia was in at the one just the other day. I was over here Friday,
Okay.
I believe it was. They had one.
No, I missed it.
I did last
And
year.
yeah, it was packed. I couldn't believe it.
It's good.
That's great.
All right.
All right, now the other thing is I guess, update on Station 1, or the new Station 1. So the next phase of the project would be to continue on with Branstetter Carroll, and they have asked for a contract amendment because the original contract was in 2017, May of 2017, and over 6 years, costs have gone up, and the city was already invoiced, the original invoice is $182,500. And we've already paid $107,300 of that, and they're asking to increase that price above the 182 to another $317,500 to continue on with the construction documents and all the other documents that need to be done.
Another 300.
Another $317,500 with the cost of everything going up.
Is this,
What was the, yeah, go ahead.
so the first one was 182.
182 in 2017, yes.
And they want essentially, and they want another $317,000, and this is the planning stage?
Construction.
This would be
documents.
construction documents and all that going on.
Construction documents.
So
are-
we've already paid 107. Original contract was for that 182. And
But we're not talking about any construction
No.
material.
no construction materials.
And
No,
no
this is
construction
the
work.
this is the architects. So this is for the assessment's already been paid in full. There'd be no increase on that. Schematic design, there's an increase on schematic design, design development, construction documents, and bidding, as well as construction administration.
Is there a, what portion is it at right now? What has Branstetter Carroll completed up to this point?
We have paid the original $37,000 paid in full for the original schematic designs, but now costs have gone up and the size of the station went up a little bit as far. They had different changes with the third floor taken out of the second floor, so there's been some increase in those things.
I guess my question is, do we even have an option here, or is there a method by which we could say, thank you for what you have completed, and we're gonna RFP this out again and determine if there is a cost saving measure?
We possibly could do that, but I don't know if that'd be beneficial. They've been working on this for 6 years, and we're under contract right now.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like contract is
Yeah,
adaptable.
It is they want the amendment, and we still owe the difference of 107 and 182, so we still owe that difference still. This is not all paid up front either. This is
Right.
paid like it has been. If it's going to take 6 months, then that'll be divided into 6 months. So if the construction documents is 63.5 on an increase, they would charge, if it takes 6 months to get those, it'd be $10,000 a month.
Commissioner Walters.
So within our contract, it's sort of piggyback on Kyle, is that this right here from 182.5 to another additional
Additional,
317, that's almost 100 and something percent raise. And is it not in contracts once they go up a certain amount that is to be RFP'd back out and for us to redo? Because that's almost like, I understand it going from 2017 until now, but that's over 100, almost 100% difference. And would someone else beat that? And is that in our contract that if it does go up that much or there's a change that we need to go back to the drawing board?
Right, and I'm happy to look at the contract, but my understanding is this was a professional services agreement, and so generally the same rules don't apply. There's a little more
Okay.
flexibility than when you have to go out for bid. If we were looking at a change order that was that substantial of an increase in something that we had developed a contract based on a bid, then yes, I would
Okay.
be looking at that very carefully to
Okay.
make sure.
I
So
guess
it's different.
I guess
for
I guess my
services.
issue is, and I don't know if anybody else sees this, is that, I mean, I understand the cost of things have gone up. Trust me, I understand that. But we're talking about schematics, software, you know, engineers, architects. I mean, we're not talking about wood going up. We're not talking about, you know, steel going up. And a contract for just design was $182,000 is now $500,000. I mean, that's a big jump. And I'm not, I mean, I'm not disagreeing that we're in a contract, that it's a professional services contract. I just, you know, I also understand that it's been 6 years, and I totally get that as well. I just don't, I wish I knew a little bit more about.
I think that's it. We need to
Why don't
see
we-
a little bit more and table this for now,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
we need to see this. What
Okay.
you think?
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, this was, what we were charged for before was like the assessment, the schematic design, design development, and construction documents. And then where those have all gone up, now we owe an additional.
So when
additional
you
money.
say those have gone up, are you saying the price of paper? I'm not understanding.
It's the price of their services gone up with the increase in the cost of the building and the size of the building.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Okay, not my forte.
We'll
but
go
okay.
back to Branstetter or Carroll.
Okay.
and have a
Yeah,
discussion
I'll
with
get
them
back with
get
them
some
and
more
find out, but
information and
the-
bring it back to you all.
Documents,
Yeah.
information.
And I can have them come in and explain it better.
Yeah.
That
Are
would
you
be
sa-
great.
Because the design has changed from the original, that it
Yes.
has gone up. It
Yes.
physically has gone bigger.
Yes.
What we've asked them to now design, it does take more time behind a computer to design a larger structure.
Mhm.
But we actually took a
But we took the
floor
third
off.
floor off.
But we had them do a little bit of work.
Let me see that.
I don't believe Pickback was the original design. I think it was a different location
Okay.
when we originally signed this contract 6 years
Yeah,
ago.
correct.
It was a different location, and I don't believe it was the size of Pickback. So the size of the building has gone up.
Okay.
And then we had the
yeah.
options.
Okay.
And then we
Let's
have the
table,
options, but
and
the
then
size of the
you
building
guys
has gone
bring
up.
that back to us.
Yeah, we'll look at that again.
Thank you.
I will
As soon
contact
as we
them and
can.
have them in here for the next time.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks. Next up, I also want to welcome, she'll be by video, Allison Smith, project manager from NREL, who's joining us remotely. And Allison joined NREL last year. She was formerly the Assistant Director of Sustainability for the City of Louisville. As the board may recall, at the September 26 voting session, you approved a one-time expenditure of $150,000 for a phase 2 with the National Renewable Energy Lab to help implement our 100% clean energy resolution. That was passed by the board in October 2021. As you know, we've completed phase 1. We have submitted to you all the scope of work for phase 2. Phase 2 will give NREL the opportunity to do a deep dive in de-risking the pursuit of the best paths forward to achieve our goals, construction of a utility-scale solar array. It's a very important, very technical, and complicated effort that needs to be undertaken by experts who have extensive experience in this realm, which is like NREL. They would be charged with organizing and leading meetings with Frankfort Plant Board to do the necessary financial, technical, and other analysis needed to achieve utility-scale solar project that is cost-effective and equitable for our community. We'll be looking at de-risking, how we can make the most cost-effective utility-scale solar project feasible, and looking at how we would attract, obviously, an investor developer for this project. So if Allison is here too, wanted to see if there are questions about that. There she is. This also is part of one of the strategic plan priorities, sustainability, that was adopted by the Board of Commissioners.
Just a point of order. Mayor, are there individuals on the Board of Commissioners that are appointed to the sustainability group, think tank that's going to be working with
The working group?
Working group, yes. Thank you.
I don't think we have anything formal.
We don't have any.
Okay. Okay. So at this point, if 2 individuals wanted to show, we could do
Yes.
that. Okay.
So, as long as you let everyone know when the meetings are.
Gotta learn about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, there's no official committee
I'll
that meets.
I'll let Kelly and I'll arm wrestle and figure out who knows more.
Yeah, throughout phase 1, Commissioner Rosen, Commissioner May participated in the bi-weekly updates from NREL throughout the process and were updated. And then we updated the commission. Always a good idea. You can create a municipal order for a sustainability committee or just the informal working group as well. So, anybody have any questions for Allison or I? Or just
Yes, Commissioner Unger.
Just one comment. It sounds like during this phase, we're gonna be setting up a lot of meetings with the plant board and working with them.
Yes.
So good communication there. It sounded like that might have been a bit of an issue for the plant board in phase 1. So, I mean, this sounds really great to me. Can't wait to see what comes out of this phase.
I think you'll see in the task 2 of this phase, the goal will be also to have RFQ ready to be issued. But of course, that won't be completed until all the analysis, de-risking, to make sure that this is a cost-effective project. And it's one that would be good for the city. So we do that process first before working on an RFP.
Will the I apologize, Mayor.
Commissioner Thompson.
Will the plant board be providing feedback as well as NREL with regard to costs and efficiencies and things of that nature as they are our local municipal company? I wanted to make sure that they were going to have some ability to have an opinion on that. And then is the final report or decision-making document that we receive, will that be sent out to us as soon as it's produced so that we can ask questions on that ahead of time?
Right.
And we're looking at a 6-month process here? Is that what I gathered?
Yes, if I may answer, 4 to 6 months for a feasibility assessment report, probably at least 10 pages long. I also want to let you know that Frankfort Plant Board has always been invited to meetings. The information has been shared. They were also sent the scope of work. We had discussions about it, so they've had input throughout this process.
Thank you.
And I've asked the plant board too, just to, anytime they can offer feedback, and then let us know what their limitations are too. Like what can they do and what can't they do, so that that NREL can take that into consideration when they're formulating our recommendations.
Thank you, Mayor.
Anything else? Any other questions before it's put on the March 27th agenda?
Anything, Commissioner? I don't guess so.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Allison.
Thanks
Thank you.
Thanks for waiting.
Next up, I'd like to welcome Assistant Chief Derek Napier to provide a little additional information on the board about the flock camera system. Some members of the BOC viewed a demo last week, and he's here to answer any other questions. We sent out a recording of the demo, but a camera system that captures license plates to help solve crimes. Thank you, Assistant Chief.
Thank you. So the police department has been exploring the possibility of adding flock cameras as a force multiplier and an investigative tool. So the way that these cameras work is they take a picture of the rear of the vehicle as it passes. The plate is then ran through the National Crime Information Center through NCIC, and if it's entered, then our officers would get an alert, and the information provided in that alert would say why it was entered into NCIC and where the vehicle was spotted. So which one of these cameras picked it up. So the photos that the flock cameras take, they're kept for 30 days. They're stored for 30 days. After that, they're gone. They're purged out. So if we needed those photos for an investigation, we could download them before the 30 days expires so that we could still have them for our investigation or for evidence. But other than that, those photos are gone. And Flock itself, they don't get personal information. They just have photos. The photos with those license plates are kind of cross-referenced to NCIC, but Flock itself doesn't get any of that information. The law enforcement agencies would be able to get the information from Flock about the license plate and what the alert is for, and then we would have to actually get the NCIC information, the personal information from it. So one scenario is stolen vehicles. So we have stolen vehicles that enter this community all the time from other jurisdictions. And currently law enforcement, I mean, we don't know about it. And so why I say it would be a force multiplier is because we would have to have, let's say, both sides by the 53 and by the 58 on the interstate. We have large retail locations at both of those exits. It's common that people come in a stolen vehicle to commit other property crimes a lot of times at those retail establishments. Well, right now we would have to have an officer like sitting there running every plate that goes by to get this information. So strategically placed cameras could be doing all that and notify us like, hey, there's a stolen vehicle that was just spotted on this camera that's out here by Leonard Wood Drive. So then we could send an officer over there to investigate that. Because a lot of times, these individuals come from another community in a stolen vehicle to commit crimes in this community. And so that if we're notified and we can recover that stolen vehicle and potentially get these individuals into custody, we could do that before they've had a chance to commit a crime here. So the camera information can also be shared with other jurisdictions that's using Flock cameras, because a lot of times these investigations, they cross county lines, they cross state lines at times, and so any other agency that's using the Flock system, we can all kind of share information and network, on some of these incidents. Examples of alerts would be Amber Alerts. If there's a vehicle associated with an Amber Alert, almost everybody gets those on their cell phones now. And you'll see that, a lot of times a vehicle is listed, like, be looking for this vehicle. Well, if that vehicle passed one of these cameras in our jurisdiction, we would be notified that this vehicle is here. Same thing for golden alerts, vehicles associated with missing persons, and stolen vehicles. Those are some examples. So what we're wanting to do is strategically place these cameras around the city to provide the greatest coverage and use that to drive our crime numbers down. Because if we can catch this stuff coming in and stop it before things have had an opportunity to take place here, that'll help our theft numbers, possibly our stolen vehicle numbers. Luckily we haven't had a lot of this in this area, but Louisville, Lexington, some of those jurisdictions have seen stolen vehicles involved in some of their shootings. Well, we don't know who's coming in here in these stolen vehicles and what their intentions are, but if we can be aware of them and get officers on that immediately, it's going to do nothing but help. here and to curb some of this crime. And so we've got several surrounding jurisdictions that's already started using this, and they've seen a lot of success, to include Lexington. I can't remember how many cameras they have right now, but it's a lot, and they're expanding their network, rapidly. I think Louisville has like 100, 150, something like that. Georgetown has recently came on board, Versailles and Shelbyville. So we have surrounding jurisdictions that's already hopped on this system, and we're asking to do the same. I think it would really help our numbers and help provide a better service to this community.
Commissioner Waters?
Thank you. I know that you and I were on the same call the other day when we did this presentation. It was a great presentation. Actually support this. I think it's not just buying in for our particular cameras, but I like the fact that it's a buy-in for statewide, nationwide into this program. So I feel like I know we're wanting to start with 20. Which is a pretty good number. I know it's a little bit expensive, but as we know that rate's going to be going up April 1st, so it's something that this commission needs to take serious and moving forward so we can save a little bit of money, whether that's buying 10 or 20. But I also like the idea of looking, for the county and Frankfort Plant Board and folks like that to get in on this to see if they can also purchase a few too to sort of waiver that. But I do see, I think on our particular video that you and I watched was that there was a child that was abducted by a stranger, and that from the moment that the child was abducted until the moment it was reunited because of these cameras in that particular city, it was like 6 hours. So 6 hours that child was abducted and put back with his family only because of this system. And so for me, I think that like you said, it will decrease the crime here, because a lot of our crime actually comes from people that are entering into our community. You hate to say that, but that is what it is. And it links back. And I also think that it allows in between two major cities, Lexington and Louisville, for us to put up cameras to be able to communicate back and forth. It takes like a car chase. We would know where that car is at all times coming through all the counties that have this service. And how we can help or maybe protect our community from not being on the road or whatever that may be as that car is coming down. And also it just helps with missing persons, as you stated. The last time we saw that car was coming out of Lexington. Well, the last time we saw that car, now it's Frankfort, and it puts us on the line to know where that person is, and it also will help gear in closer on where that person may be. And so I think it just helps us reunite families and keeps our community safer. So I'm all for it, and I think that we need to look at it and move quickly on this for the next meeting. Thank you.
Is there?
Commissioner Thompson?
I'm sorry.
That's
Commissioner
okay.
Unger had a question.
No, it's okay. You can go on.
Do these cameras take any other type of photographs other than the license plate information and the backside of a car?
No, it's just a photo, typically because of the way that they're positioned. I mean,
Right.
it may catch a little bit of the side, but it's the rear of the vehicle with the license plate. But there are other features. So when I say even as an investigative tool, like we can go in and if we have a general vehicle description
Right.
of a vehicle that was used in the commission of a crime, we can plug in as much information as we have, and it'll pull information from cameras. If we have a general area, it'll pull information from those cameras, but it can get as specific as, let's say that
It can pull
there's
all
a
the
bumper
four
sticker
photo-
or a
yeah.
logo on there. And so if we have a copy of that logo, we can actually upload it and say, hey, we want to look for this logo on a car. And it'll show us all the vehicles that has that logo on the back of it. So it can get that specific, but it still doesn't have personal information.
I think it's important. The reason I asked that question is because I know that there are people that worry about, and no offense, a police state or a surveillance state where we're simply watching all of the people in a community, and this is not a tool that would allow for that. This is a tool that would simply prevent crime based upon evidence of the backside of a car with a license plate, as opposed to facial recognition software or anything of that nature.
It doesn't capture anything about the occupant of the vehicle. The other thing is there's an audit trail, so I can't just get on there for absolutely no reason and I just want to see how many, blue Nissan Maximas have been over around Kohl's. I can't pull the information just because. You actually have to provide a reason. When you do this search, I'm looking for this information for this reason. So we have an audit trail as to who's accessing this information and why.
Okay. Now can I ask the question that I always do, which is how much would this cost?
So right now it's $2,500 per camera annually.
Annually?
Yeah, to
Annually.
lease.
Yeah, it's a lease. We don't own the cameras. But that's everything that has to do with the camera. That's the software. That's everything. They do charge, I think, it's $750 per camera to get everything set up. If the camera's vandalized or something like that, they'll come in and replace that camera. If it happens often, then they say that instead of continually just replacing a camera, that maybe we need to move it somewhere else. But there's that initial setup and then the annual cost of a camera.
What happens if new technology comes along and they upgrade the camera? Does our $2,500 cover that, or are we going to be upsold when the Flock version 2 comes out, or whatever it is?
Where it's a lease, we'll get updated. I believe it's a 2-year commitment is what it is. It is going to $3,000 a camera April 1st. So,
Commissioner Unger?
You answered a couple of my questions. Commissioner Thompson asked one of them, so that was good. But yeah, I think overall, I'm supportive. I did miss my meeting for personal reasons, but watched the video. And so, if we can keep our community safer, get crime rates down, I totally understand. But I think there's also, like Commissioner Thompson mentioned, a fear that technology can be abused. I was wondering who would be able to access it. You helped answer that question. And if I have anything to follow up with, I will.
We could set up a
have
separate
meeting with
demo for
Flock,
those who are
but-
unable to make it last week and set up a separate demo.
Yeah.
If people
Well, they recorded it. Commissioner Waters?
I just want to clarify that, Commissioner Thompson, I'm sorry?
What did I do wrong?
No, I just want to clarify that it is 2,500, like he said, and I mentioned it's going up to 3,000 in that 2-year contract. That's basically the service on that contract. That even if we buy such and such by April 1st, 2,500, no matter what contract we're in, we will be bumped up to 3,000. So that's not. So once we buy 2,500, we're not 2,500 for the next 2 years. We're 2,500 until April 1st, and then everything after we purchase. So if we purchase 10 now,
I got you.
does that make sense?
Yes.
And so, and I, in my meeting with Assistant Chief here, is that I mentioned why such an increase. That's a pretty hefty increase, a $500 increase. And it was stated that since they have created this, they have not had any increases as of right now in regards to cameras and things of that nature. And so that's why it's such a big jump on that. So I don't foresee it continuing to rise over the next, hopefully, couple of years, but not to say that it won't. But that's why it was a $500 huge jump. I mean, that was a big jump.
Commissioner Unger?
One other quick question. So 30 days, videos rotate out. If we decide we need to store pictures or whatever, that would be on us to pay for storage. Or is that under Flock? Like additional storage? I just
So it would have to be for a particular investigation. We would download those photos and just store them with that investigation. So we would handle that storage, but we're talking about probably not a lot of photos. We just need the ones that are tied to a specific investigation. All the rest of them, after 30 days, they're gone, and we have no use for those.
I was just thinking about financial, storage burden down the road.
Well, that storage, that 30-day storage is handled by them.
Yep.
And that's part of our.
Yep.
We don't have another like service agreement beyond whatever we're paying for the cameras.
No, sir.
Thank you.
Anything else? City manager, anybody else? No,
All right,
Thank you.
One
See if
quick,
it's,
one,
if you would like it on the March 27th
yes,
agenda.
one very quick question. Does the city of Frankfort, if you know, and if you don't, it's fine, but does the city of Frankfort Police Department have any budgetary resources that they've already budgeted for this, for these purchases? Or would this be a total of $65,000 that we would have to?
I believe
Yeah.
we're looking at trying to throw some money that way.
Okay.
So we're not asking just
This would be a budget amendment. We
Right.
did not budget this in the fiscal year 23 budget.
That's all I needed to know. Thank
Thank
you.
you. And any objection, we'll put it on we'll consider this for the March 27th
Yes.
voting meeting?
Please.
Meet the deadline. Okay.
Great, thank you. And want to welcome Janet Gates. Sorry, Janet, you have to wait. You waited a little bit. We really appreciate you coming here from okay, Franklin County Women's Shelter to present on their ongoing work.
Everybody else wants to stand up and stretch.
I know our watches were telling us to stand up a minute ago.
And just a quick reminder, you have 5 minutes, but that does include question and answers, and we will, yeah, time it. Great.
So thank you for having me. As Ms. Hegg said, I'm Janet Gates. I'm the director of the Franklin County Women and Family Shelter. We became a nonprofit in 2004, and our mission has always been to provide safe, sober homes for all those that we serve. We started out as just a emergency shelter and transitional house for single adult females. We got our first house deeded over to us, mortgage-free in 2008, and it was a 4-unit, 13-bed house on 303 East 3rd Street. Between 2008 and 2014, the city once again realized that we had another need that we weren't meeting, and that was for families with children. That means couples with children, or men caring for their children, or blended families, as in grandparents with children in their grandchildren in their custody. So we we morphed again and added families with children to our services that we provided then. We have once again morphed into meeting a need in our community, where you mentioned the tragic death that happened at the Black Cat Chase last year. In 2021, we had 34 deaths from opioid or other substance overdoses in Franklin County. That was an increase from 20 to 21, a huge increase of over 15% in just that 1 year's time, and we expect 2022 numbers to be even higher. So what we've done since assessing data, since I became director, so I could quantify all that data, over 84% of the residents that we've served, either through emergency shelter or our transitional housing, came to us with substance use issues as one of the major barriers that kept them from being housed. And so we decided as a board to add recovery housing program to our services, and we began that in July 2019, and July 2021. And Simon House has now taken over the role of the 24-hour emergency shelter in our community. Right now, we serve women with children. We serve single adult women. We're not able to serve families with children right now because of the lack of staff that we have. We have 3 paid staff members. I hope that you all got the updates and statistics. So what we're doing right now is we're looking for funding to help us fund that position as a family service coordinator, so we can once again provide services for families with children, couples with children, or men caring for their children, or that multi-generational family unit that comes to us often seeking this kind of help. So I wanted to thank you all for the many, many years of support that this community as a whole, the Board of Commissioners, has provided for our agency, operating expenses and otherwise. And I wanted to encourage you and ask you to please consider this coming fiscal year to continue to support nonprofits that are providing those services in our community. As you all well know, the CARES Coalition is up and running. We're still not funded yet, though. We're in the process of looking for grants that the CARES Coalition can provide more money from different funding streams coming into our communities that would help our agency, Simon House, and all the other ones that are providing those critical services for those in need in our community, the most vulnerable. So I would ask that you consider that as you move forward with your budget for 2023 and 2024, that you think about what we're doing, think about this ecosystem and continuum of care that we have created in our community. It's a very robust one now. We've applied for opioid money to help us be sustainable. We have developed a community rehabilitation program. We're the only one in the community that has one through the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, so we can help people get that professional assessment to address the barriers, whether it be job placement, needing new, needing some kind of education or training in order to get into a stable employment situation so they can leave us and become just healthy citizens in our community and giving back. And so that's why I'm here today, just to thank you, first of all, and to ask for your continued support through this coming year and the years ahead. Any questions?
And are you at capacity now?
We are not. We are not. We have beds available, so if you know of anyone, we have transitional housing for those who have substance use disorder for their recovery housing program, but also women who do not have that as their barrier. They're just at a life crisis and they need that extra help. So no, we do have beds available. Yes.
Any other questions for Ms. Gates?
But right now, it's just for single women, not with children.
That's right.
Okay.
The board voted to, we just don't have the adequate resources to provide the effective care that's families, as you know, are a different dynamic. You have adults, you have children, and you really need specialized staff to take care of that. So we're trying to be mindful and do what we do really well, and then add staff as we can, get the funding for that. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much.
Next up, I'd like to welcome Melanie Van Houten, Josephine Sculpture Park, as we know, and present on their ongoing work and how the money is being utilized. And just a friendly reminder, 5 minutes, but that doesn't include questions and answers.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Yes, my name is Melanie Van Houten, and I'm the founding director of Josephine Sculpture Park. I'd like to thank the Commission for your investment in the Arts Downtown exhibition. Josephine Sculpture Park is able to activate the Arts Master Plan for Frankfort through this program because of your support. In addition, several key components of the Downtown Master Plan are also supported by Arts Downtown, including economic development, IDEA values, telling the story of Frankfort, and financial sustainability. By investing in this program, you are foregrounding the arts as a driver for improved quality of life, business recruitment, and tourism. Oh, I forgot, I'm doing this. Okay. I didn't get too far out of my plan. A few highlights from 2022 from the Arts Downtown exhibition. We partnered with the Frankfort Franklin County Tourist Commission to publish a robust public art brochure and update the website that goes along with that. I mention it every time, but if you haven't seen the visitfrankfort.com/art website, please do that and share it. It's amazing. We've spent collectively many hours improving it, and it's fantastic. In addition, there are self-guided tours via cell phone, printed maps, or the website, and we also developed a docent-led tour in partnership with tourism as well. Currently, we exhibit 19 sculptures and 8 murals as part of this program. We increased community engagement this past year by awarding 2 awards. Those were financial awards to the artists in addition to the fees that we pay them to essentially lease their sculptures for exhibition. And we coordinated with the commission, coordinated the commission and installation of Ready for Flight, which is just across the street, which is a permanent sculpture purchased by the city that was created with input from students at Second Street School. JSP, with community input through the Franklin County Arts Council, conducts the national calls, manages the selection process, installation of artworks, contracts with artists, promotion of the program itself, and community engagement activities. Telling our story to people from around the world is an important part of what we do. Arts Downtown contributes to the financial sustainability of Frankfort as it works to establish Frankfort as the public art capital of Kentucky. This fact is really important in telling the story of our community to others because the arts are a major part of our history, our present, and our future. In September of 2022, the IKT International Association of Curators of Contemporary Art Congress was held in Central Kentucky. They visited Josephine Sculpture Park and participated in the Frankfort Public Art Tour as part of their time here, which was frankly unbelievable and fabulous. So it was wonderful to share what we've built together with so many people from all over literally all over the world. It was amazing. Our programming fosters relationships with key groups in our community that support economic, educational, environmental, social justice, and arts partnerships. This is just a list of some of the primary organizations that we partner with. We included both organizations inside the city of Frankfort as well as organizations outside the city of Frankfort. Some of those are in the county, some are statewide, some are regional, and some are national and international. For 2023, we have several projects happening. There is a sculptural bench installation at the north end of the Singing Bridge, which is adjacent to the historical lynching marker memorializing Marshall Boston and John Maxey. This will create a space for truth-telling and reflection about racial terrorism and its legacy in our community. This was done in collaboration with Focus on Race Relations and the Equal Justice Initiative. That will be installed on March 31st.
1 minute.
Okay, there's a new mural that's happening on the VFW wall that is inspired by the 1964 March on Frankfort and the Civil Rights Movement in Kentucky. That will happen this summer. And the Arts Downtown sculptures will rotate again. Those are on 2-year exhibition. That'll happen again in the fall. In addition, there are future plans to partner with the city to commission public art for the Transit Center, including a mosaic portion planned to be installed in 2024. Quickly, I just want to mention a few things at the Sculpture Park, and that your support of the Arts Master Plan also strengthens the park. As the park grows, it's the only sculpture park in the state of Kentucky. It becomes a regional draw. It is a regional draw, and the strong connections between Arts Downtown exhibition and the park make our entire community stronger. Environmental sustainability and land conservation are key components to our mission at the park and are realized through all of our programs. A few quick upcoming events, because I know you guys all want to know what's happening at the park. March is membership month. This year, for the first time, we're having a member party as part of the membership perks. Membership keeps the park free and open every single day of the year from dawn until dusk, and you can go to the website to learn more about that. And I hope to see you all at the member party on April 2nd in the new barn. We have a Grow With Us celebration where we completed our capital campaign. That's on May 24th. This is to recognize all the donors for that. Many people have been involved in that, and we're really excited. It enabled us to secure 10 acres and to begin renovating the historic tobacco barn.
That's time.
Okay, this is my last slide. Can I get it? This will be happening in the tobacco barn. It's our barn raisin, our biggest fundraiser of the year, featuring Chef Weta Michael and the local honeys. It's going to be amazing. Tickets go on sale on the 31st of this month. And just mark your calendar.
One more slide.
For Symphonic Show. Sorry, that's really the last.
Can you go back to the one slide you moved so quickly through? That was important. Next.
June 11.
Yeah.
This, June 11th.
Put that on the calendar.
If you're signed up for our emails, you'll get all this information, of course. You can go to the website as well. Thank you for your interest and support of the park. We really do appreciate the opportunity to partner with you guys to continue to implement the strategic plan for the arts and the Downtown Arts Master Plan.
Any
Questions?
Yes, Commissioner Wilder.
You stated that some of the art pieces are going to be, are they going to be relocated or replaced?
They get replaced. Yeah. So
Okay.
every 2 years we've been doing this. This will be maybe the third rotation, I think.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so on that,
Mhm.
I absolutely love the heart because it's like ready to come in downtown. It's like the heart of Frankfort. We're the heart of Kentucky. I love that piece. I just don't want it to go away. But
They're all for sale.
I was just like, maybe we could look. I just love that right
They
there.
are.
I think it's a great piece, but I think that's something we can discuss. But I just love that piece for Frankfort.
I can look all
so.
those numbers up for you.
Yeah.
Some of them are really reasonable, honestly. And so I can get those numbers to you guys and just share that with you. I appreciate that you asked. The money that comes from that, it goes to the artist. Part of it would go back into this program as well. So, but they are all available.
And my only other follow-up is there's a piece that is, it's almost diagonal, I guess. It's down the street from the heart. It's the little square. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Okay. I really like that piece, but that piece becomes very dirty really quickly, and it collects trash, cigarette butts, and leaves. So I don't know if there's like another installation that maybe next time that could be raised 3 or 4 inches to allow water flow. But every time I go by, it just makes that art piece look really bad because to where it's on the ground flat, it collects dirt and it's just not keeping clean. So
Yeah.
maybe it's something to take that into consideration, but it just collects so much.
It is, and I will say it's my understanding that the businesses are responsible for keeping the sidewalks clean. And that part of Main Street is kind of unusual because it doesn't have like a retail business there.
Correct.
So I know, and part of the time that piece has been there, that building has been under renovation as well, and so I don't even know if anybody was really responsible. That whole part of that block,
it just looks bad.
Wasn't great, but heard, and we'll keep that in mind. And I don't know, that's a good spot because it's wide there, but it's not great because there's not anybody there to kind of take.
And maybe we could
control
get
of
organizations to adopt it if we don't think the business owner is going to take over it, to do volunteer maybe hours or something.
Yeah, I mean, it would
like they adopt
probably take
roadways
minutes,
and stuff.
really,
but
but yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
And, how many visitors did you have in 2022?
At the sculpture park, 25,000.
Is there any way we can't really track how many come in by being the public art capital?
We'll put a flock camera right there.
Yeah, we can do that. We do, I mean, Robin does have numbers.
Sorry.
For like people that go to the Frankfort Public Art website, and we do have ways to track that. But it's harder when you're dealing with like true public art that's just on Main Street and in Broadway. But she can. I mean, I don't mean to speak for her, but I know we've had conversations about it that people do contact them specifically to get information about the Frankfort Public Art Tour, and she can track that on their website as well. So we know that it is a draw and that it's growing. The more we invest in it, the more we get out of it. And so, and I did want to give you that this is the new. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I say new. We put it together last year, but this is the guide that has the walking tour. This has cell phone information and it's the walking tour. This will be updated every 2 years as the sculptures trade out as well. Probably brought more than enough, but that's something that we worked on collaboratively. So the sculpture park designed it, paid for the staff time to design it, and then the tourism printed them. So we worked together on that.
All right. Yes, one more.
Can I just ask? I just want to say, Melanie, that you are a treasure to this community, and what you have done on your own, of your own desire and your own expertise, and brought that back to your hometown, and what you have done over the last couple decades in making this happen is. I know you have a ton of volunteers and a lot of people that work for you, but this is your baby, and you have truly made it something that the entire community can be proud of. And I wish more individuals in our community would invest themselves as much as you have. It'd be impossible to do, though, because I know how tirelessly you work. But as someone who knew you since we were very young children, it means a lot to me to see someone who has done so much for our community in the arts, and for a parent of children who have been in the arts programs, it means the world to me. So I just want to say thank you, and I hope that you will continue to have that same drive and as long as you can. So
I'm not going anywhere.
Good.
Thank you, and I hope that other people, maybe young people, maybe middle-aged people like myself. I appreciate what you said, and all I'll say is that we rode the bus together in 5th grade. Like you know, I am just a normal person from Frankfort. Right. I am not some special talented person per se. I think I say that because, but I want to encourage other people that if they have some big idea, that they don't think they have to move away to do it. You can do it here. Right. And I think if it's not here, that's all the more reason to come back and stick it out and make Frankfort the kind of place that you want it to be. And that it can happen. It takes a lot of work and patience and persistence. But if it's something that you're really committed to doing, I encourage more and more people to do it because it can be done.
Can
You
be.
just gotta set your mind to it, so, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
Hopefully,
Melanie.
that'll encourage other people.
Good job.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
Melanie.
Thank you.
Next up, our HR Director, Kathy Fields, is here to talk about the selection of a firm to conduct our DEI audit for the city. And also another important effort under our strategic plan and our inclusion, diversity, equity, and access priority.
That was a fantastic presentation, so I went and nabbed one of these brochures before I started. I saw there were some extras there. Thanks. I've got company. This looks like a cool thing. And Commissioner Waldridge, you said that you really liked one of the sculptures with the heart because it represented the heart for Frankfort. So I'm going to play off of that and say that this initiative, I think, can really represent the heart of us as an employer. So we have this really important value that we've established with IDEA for inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility. And so as we start to take steps to implement that, you know, we've developed these strategies for how we can achieve that. And this is exciting because this is a first ever for the city to show that level of commitment in taking these steps. Earlier this year, we cast the net to get some proposals for how we could assess where we're great, where we're doing a pretty good job, and where we could stand to improve. And we know that there's room for improvement. This is new territory. We've got a couple of proposals back. They differed quite a bit in terms of length of time and scope and cost. And what I want to talk to you about tonight is the one that we want to propose moving forward with and that I hope that you'll like. So Millennium Learning Concepts has already provided implicit bias training for us. So we had a little bit of connectedness with this particular vendor and good reception from our employees. And this is a vendor too who's been in this business for nearly 20 years and has provided diversity, equity, and inclusion assessments for somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 different agencies, some of them, you know, really large, a lot bigger than the city of Frankfort. So it's not new territory for the person. And they've given us a proposal that would span the 2 phases. So the first phase is a 3-pronged approach, and that would last for 3 months. Potentially, if you all are interested in moving forward, it would start in mid to late April, so we're pretty close to possibly being able to start. And it would lead off with basically gathering documentation from the city, kind of collecting all of our processes, our policies, our communication. It's not just even formal ordinances or formal handbook items. It's really assessing our physical space, our climate, policy by practice, how we communicate, what is our tone in emails, all of those kind of things. So it's a very, I would say, comprehensive, high-level dive into how we operate the way that we do. After collecting information, there will also be focus groups that are held with key management to, again, use that documentation and what they know about how we operate to then pair it up with what people actually say about how we operate. Gather more information, start assessing where we're strong, where we may need to be improved, or where we may need to improve. And then adding to that first phase during this 3-month cycle, the vendor proposes doing a citywide assessment of all employees, which would be a survey. Then once all this data is collected and all this input is gathered, there would be a presentation to talk about just what I was saying. What are the things the city needs to keep moving forward with, and what are the things that the city maybe needs to make a change on or do differently? Following that, and this is something that I personally really like about this proposal, is that the vendor is willing to, Dr. Cleveland actually is the founder and primary person who would be involved in this, but he does have other staff. He would make himself available to us as a resource, over a 3-year period. So at the close of that 3 months, he would provide an actionable strategic plan for us to implement over a period of 3 years, and still over that period of 3 years be available for us to occasionally reach out to seek guidance as we're implementing those steps and ultimately getting where we want to get to. So the proposal, we earmarked $50,000, which the board had approved that amount prior as discussions about the strategic plan occurred. This proposal is a $40,000 proposal, so it is within that funding amount. Any questions?
I see that there's two steps. There's a first phase, second phase. Are both phases as part of the deliverables for that $40,000?
Mhm.
Okay.
The first phase is the 3-month phase, which had multiple activities occurring in it. The second phase is the 3-year phase,
Longer.
which is the implementation of all of the action items that have been identified.
Understood.
Commissioner Under?
I really like the idea of ending with the strategic plan to address DEI, because we can see where we've actively checked off the plan that we've started. So I love that part of this, and I also have had experience with Dr. Roger Cleveland with my other full-time job at KDE, where he helped lead some internal meetings for us on implicit bias, which we've already done here with him, but also on DEI initiatives. So he's a great guy.
I think so
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
And on the online survey of all the employees, is that gonna be a requirement that employees complete that? Or are we looking for a target completion rate?
I have to admit, I'm not sure, but it's certainly a question I can take back to him, but I would have to feel like we need to look for like some percentage of completion rate and kind of keep pushing to achieve
We
it.
wanna make sure it's
But-
meaningful. But
Absolutely.
I'd be very interested to see the responses on that.
I will shoot that question to him, and then I can funnel that information back, because I don't think the proposal actually identified a percentage of completion on it, but it did say that every employee would be reached. I mean, at least it would cast every employee. It's a good question.
I think that we should have every employee, I mean, it's important to get everyone's viewpoint. It's important to see how everyone interacts with this and what our staff is wanting to come out of this as well, because it affects them and our city, and it keeps us, I guess, having all information from all employees. Therefore, no one's going to complain that they did not get their ideas in or their concerns in. And for us, it says, hey, everyone said it. We looked at everything. Here's what we've come up with. So I don't know if it could be part of evaluation to say, hey, it has to be a check mark that you've done this during evaluation or whatever, or maybe we
Most
put something
evaluations
together
have
that
been completed.
once you do, you get to be in a drawing for something. I don't know. But
I think
That
the
could be
idea
Gift
of
card.
yeah.
Oh,
Give 'em a gift
actually,
card.
something like that, yeah. I
Like
think
just
the idea of
something like
looking
that,
for a
yeah.
percentage of completion, just to show that this is definitely representative of our workforce, makes sense. Sometimes, in my opinion, if you kind of push too hard, if somebody's not wanting to participate, then the quality that you get back in the response can get diminished too, so.
Thank you.
A race
Thank
on which
you.
department completes it first.
Yeah.
Is that something we wanna consider for the March 27
Yep.
Sure.
voting?
Okay, great. Thank you.
Moving along.
Next up, I'd like to welcome our sewer director, Kenny Hogston, to come forward, present future forward for the sewer department. We're looking 20 to 50 years out. There's a lot going on, and this is, of course, a critical service, vitally important for our environment and growth for our community. So thank you, Kenny, for being here.
Thank you all for having me. Sorry, I know it's a little bit longer presentation, but we do have a lot of stuff going on right now at the sewer department, so I'll try to make it as least painful on you as I possibly can. As you know, the main goal of the sewer department is always to provide a quality treatment of our waste stream that we have and to protect public health. I mean, that's the whole reason that we exist, is to protect public health. Sewer department was created to provide the sanitary service to the public. Our industry is often laughed at, and we have so many jokes that we've heard them all. I promise you, there's not one joke that I haven't heard over the years. But looking at that and looking at our industry, we have made huge strides and great technology advancements over the last 20 years. The regulations every year, I saw this year, it's not on the wastewater yet, but on the water side, they're up for regulations on PFAS. That'll be coming to us here in a few years. It's, as technology advances everywhere, they find things that, hey, this is a treatment option that we need to do. We need to take this out. We need to find this and take it out. This is just one of those things that happens over that. So as we've went through, obviously, our plant was built in 1980, and mostly has stayed original to that plan since then. Each year, there's about $113 billion that is spent on wastewater treatment operations and capital investments. Only 4 to 5% of that is done through federal grants. So when we get a grant, you're very lucky, but usually those are very, very few and far between. So most of the financing comes through either loans through our KIA program that we have here in the state, or through local funds, as we finance a lot of our own items that way. Since our consent judgment in 2007, FSD has invested over $82 million into our collection system, and about another $2 to $5 million into our wastewater treatment plant. That being said, that sounds like a lot of money. This year, we have about $75 million worth of projects that we expect to go under construction. Financing has already been secured for most of these projects. Some of them are local funds, some of them are a combination of local and KIA funds. The one that we do have, and I'll talk about it here in a little bit, is the BRIC grant. That is a grant funding project for most of it, for 75% of it actually. So that is one that we have got the opportunity to get grant funds on. The biggest thing though, how do we plan for long-term growth? Our team right now, every time that we have a project that comes to us, we basically say, what do we need to plan for 20 to 50 years? 20 years is our minimum that we try to plan for, but we're trying to look very long-term. What's the city going to look like in 50 years? How can we plan? How can we look at the areas that can be served in that amount of time? So that's what every project that we do, we basically look for 20 to 50 years of growth. Helps if I use the clicker, right?
You can clap your hands if you want. I don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly. Fort Boone Pump Station is the last project that was on our early action as part of our consent judgment. This project has been ongoing design. We've had a contractor that went bankrupt, another one that had the owner of the construction company passed away. So we're now on to our third construction project that will finally finish this one, we hope. But that is the last early action item that we had on our original consent judgment plan. The second is our Paddocks Pump Station upgrade. As we all know, the Paddocks development is something that we're looking for. This will take 2 pump stations into one and add capacity for not only the Paddocks, but there's also some land that's adjacent to that we have went ahead and planned into this pump station so that it has the capability to be upgraded very easily to provide capacity for that as well. East Frankfort Interceptor. East Frankfort Interceptor is the largest project to date that the sewer department has taken on. It will take 38% of our flow, which is about 3.5 to 4 million gallons a day right now, and it will bring it a whole new route to the sewer department. Currently, it goes through the Shinkle Cave. It's an actual cave. We have limited access. It's dangerous. Obviously, we don't want to go in there. We go in there once every couple of years to try to make sure that everything's still okay. But the biggest issue that we have is downstream in Blanton Acres. There's no capacity, and it's either rip up half of Blanton Acres or reroute this whole sewer and provide capacity for the future. So we decided the second route was a much better option for us. Silver Lake Pump Station. Silver Lake is an older station. Right now we have one pump station that pumps. This one's rated at 500 gallons a minute. We have another pump station that's rated at 550 gallons a minute that pumps to this station, plus it accepts the gravity flow from that area. So 2 and 2 don't add up on this station, so it had to be upgraded, obviously. And that one, we expect it to go out here in the next few months for bid. So that one will be coming up. Old Lawrenceburg Road Pump Station is obviously down on Old Lawrenceburg Road. It's one of our last can stations. Can station is you have a wet well, and then you have another well that has all the pumps in it. Traditionally, this has been one of the most dangerous stations that we have. They were put 70s and 80s. These were put all over the place. Now nobody puts a can station in now. It's they basically don't use them at all because of the dangers that are associated with them. So we're going to upgrade that one this year as well. Duncan Road sewer upgrades. It's a small project, but right now we have a line that is literally in the creek, and we drain the creek. So if we don't fix the lines, then we're just going to continue taking on I&I, which is inflow and infiltration, and it will continue to add to our flows. That it's just water. We're not getting revenue from that, but we still have to treat it because it combines with our sewers. This will also add some capacity for the industrial park that's there and another industry that is planning to tie in the next year. The Lareland Sewer Extension. So this is I'll say this is a project that what we hope to never happen again. We've had private pump stations throughout the city. Traditionally, the owners either they don't know how to take care of them, they don't want to take care of them, they're not in the sewer business. And so as part of a project that we had over there, we're going to go ahead and take this sewer out or this pump station out and gravity it to our existing system, which is about 1,500 feet away. So it will go away, a private system will go away completely. We'll own and maintain it, and environmentally, it's much better. All right, we got Broadway Phase 1 and Phase 2. Phase 1 is a very small project. Basically, this is down around the Wilkinson area. This project will, and I'll say it, it's a rock sewer. And for those that don't know what a rock sewer is, they dug down to bedrock, and then they built walls on the side, grouted them in, and then put another rock on top and grouted that in, and that was called a sewer. This was great when everything was flowing straight to the river and you didn't have to worry about it. Yeah. Obviously, we have to worry about those things now. So we have a section that basically we have no access to. We've had a couple of backups in this area, so we want to make sure that we're going to rehab this area and address that issue. We found multiple rock sewers during the 2nd Street corridor project, and had to address those during that one as well. So, Prevention Park is our Farmdale tie-in pump station. This one is another large pump station project, not only for provide capacity for Farmdale, but it will also remove 4 existing pump stations that we have, so we will combine them into one. What we find is, one, our larger pumps are much more efficient, and also if we can combine them, there's less electricity, less maintenance, less just in general, it's cheaper to run a bigger station than it is to run a smaller station. So it just makes us much more efficient. The Capitol Ave pump station, or the force main replacement, this is just a little different project. We're looking at actually splitting Capitol Ave pump station into a stormwater pump station and a combined system pump station and a sanitary sewer pump station. It will allow us to reduce the CSO overflow that we have at that pump station, and we'll capture more of the sanitary flow during rain events. UV system upgrades at the plant. This is something that we have been looking at for quite some time. Our ozone system has been less than efficient. Let's just say that. It's caused us multiple problems this year, and we spent right at $500,000 a couple years ago rehabbing the ozone system. It's going to be that and more to rehab it again. So we've decided to move into a different direction and look at long term. The ozone system as it sits right now is only rated at a max of 20 million gallons a day. With the new UV system, we'll be able to treat and disinfect up to 48 million gallons a day. Oh, wow. So it helps us move to that future forward, and it takes up half the footprint of the current system and gives us enough room we can actually double it. So we would have 2 banks that would be capable of treating 48 million each side. So future forward, that's what we're trying to do, is make sure that we have everything looking towards the future. The brick mirror, that's what I talked about just a little bit ago. This is right now, if you're down in Riverview Park, you see this nice square concrete tower, and that is our pump station. Unfortunately, it's on the wrong side of the flood wall. And so when it floods and we go into flood mode, that station is shut down. It's all pumped to the flood station, and it goes out, which that's sewage combined with stormwater, and that's the CSO that we have to report to the state. Once this project is done, we're going to bring the new pump station on the inside of the flood wall, and it will be continuously operated even in flood mode. We won't have to worry about that. So it will not combine, and it will it'll probably reduce our CSO flow, which is one of our consent judgment items, by probably up to about 30%, because this is our largest CSO that we have. Lastly is another forward-thinking project, but it is the wastewater treatment facilities plan. Obviously, with looking at our plant, it was built in 1980. We've got a lot of equipment that needs to be worked on. We need upgraded capacity for economic development. So right now we have put out a bid, or we put out a project for our engineering community. We have received 6 bids. We're in the 6 presentations at this point. We are grading those presentations right now, and we'll narrow that down to 3, and then we will, once we have the 3, we'll bring all 3 back in. We'll have them do a full-blown presentation for us, an interview, and then our team will choose which one we feel can do the best job. So once we have that together, obviously we'll bring that back to you, and we'll have a little more information. Just right now, it's just in the preliminary stages for that. So, talking about the total cost of the projects that you just saw, and this was in the next 3 to 4 years, will be about $75 million. Obviously, and this is the Brick Marrow is outside of that. That has been awarded an almost $11 million grant. So, if you add that to it, that's another 11 million. So it's 86 million that we will spend in the next 3 to 4 years just on these sewer projects. And then you have to ask, what does this do for our rates? So obviously, we're going to look at some revenue increases. Our goal is to plan for large industries, water using industries that will come in, and that's what we're planning for. And that's why economic development is so important to keep these costs down. The sewer department is working with Gannett Fleming. We should have a contract to come to you to enter into for a rate study. For that rate study, what we're going to do is we're going to look at multiple things. One, where we stand at now, what's needed to fund our projects that we have coming up. Then also look at the rates that we have our rates compared to other localities in our same area. And then also what rates, if we do get another large industry that comes into town, how can we back our rates off based on, the more flow that we get to the plant from customers, it helps us to lower our rates, because obviously, we have a certain cost that we have, and then our capital investment. But if we can get some larger customers to come in, that would be great for us, because then we could back our sewer rates off a little bit too. So, couple of forward-thinking projects. This one is our biosolids project. So the great thing about sewers is there's always a leftover product at the end of the process, which is what we consider biosolids. It's a dead biological mass, but there are strict regulations that go with that. And right now we dispose of that through hauling it. We dewater it through a belt filter press. It takes it down to about 13 to 15% solids. The rest of it is water. And that gets hauled to the landfill, or it gets hauled to a land farm. Right now, because our blowers have been out this last year, we have sent 0 to the land farm. It's all went to landfills over this last year. Starting about 5 years ago, we started seeing our costs increase drastically through all landfills. It went from $44 a wet ton to now, which we don't use the one here in our local landfill because it's $108 a wet ton. but we are still in the $60 to $80 range, depending on which landfill that they're able to take it to. We have 5 landfills that we have permitted with, so that we can do this, but it's every single municipality that has what we produce, which is a Class B solid, is having the same issue. I know Georgetown they're sending theirs to Moorhead right now. We're sending ours to Outer Loop in Louisville mostly, but we've got 3 other ones that have to go on a regular basis because we can't get Louisville to take all of it. So, you know, our trucking companies they're having trouble getting it back and forth, and so we started looking at what can we do to address this. The easiest thing for us to do is a Class A biosolid, which means that there's very little regulations. It's a soil supplement, and if we can find farmers that would take it, it would basically be just a trucking cost to go and deliver that to these farmers, or they would come and pick it up free of charge from us. That, you know, obviously there's a cost associated with drying it, but it would also allow us to look at what we're going to do, which is provide regionalization for this process, which means that any local utility that's around us, if they want to bring their sludge to us, obviously we're going to charge them a certain amount, but it's going to be cheaper than what they can take it to the landfills. So we can dry it and get rid of it for a cheaper cost that provides increased revenue stream for us and takes care of an issue that we have. The last thing is, you know, this is going to be designed so that we can expand it for that regionalization, and also it has an incinerator design on the end of it, so when PFAS regulations come in, then we will have the incinerator ready to go in, and that will meet that permit very quickly.
And the PFAS, as you know, is the microplastics
Yes.
that we see coming down the track that's going to be regulated to eliminate those.
Yes, and like I said, it's on the agenda this year for them to have division water for, and this is for drinking water, but to have regulations in place by January 1st of next year. They expect ours to be in the 28 to 30 range before it comes to wastewater. Also, you know, we talked about the plant. You can see, you know, we've had one expansion of the plant since it was built in 1980, and that was in 2000, and that was strictly just a single oxidation ditch, and it just added some capacity to the plant. As the permits, you know, obviously, you know, Clean Water Act was done in the 70s, and that was just to get us away from primary filtration, primary settling. We now have, you know, we went from BOD and solids to ammonia, phosphorus. We know PFAS is coming. We have much stricter regulations for E. coli. All these different things add up to added costs that we have to do to treat. So our goal is to prepare ourselves for the next 20 to 50 years with this new plant design. And last but not least, baby wipes. We have, I gave everybody one of these out there so that y'all can, we were passing these out to restaurants, child care facilities, senior care facilities, and to hospitals right now. We hope to continue this campaign to do this. But this is, I just wanted to show you all this. This is one wipe. As you can see, that's a sewer pump station that we own, and you can see the wipe is holding up this float. It caused this pump to run for over 12 hours continuously because the pump did not get to, that float has to go down for it not to run. The haze that you see in there is steam that's coming off of the pump because it is so hot at this point. So one wipe, luckily we got lucky on this one, it did not destroy the pump, but sometimes when it runs that long it will. And the cost to repair this pump in this station was only about $2,500, but when you go to some of our bigger stations, like we just had one that was rebuilt that's at our station right next to the plant, and that's a $48,000 repair bill for one wipe.
Oh.
That's how easy it is. And so as we start, you know, we're starting our campaign to try to get it out there in the public, make sure everybody understands how detrimental these are. It does not matter how long it stays in the sewer system. It does not matter where it goes in the sewer system. It doesn't disintegrate. They can say it does, and just because it says that it is flushable, I promise you, the people at the jail know you can flush a bed sheet. Doesn't mean it needs to be flushed, but so that's why we have made these up, just to kind of help. You know, you don't want to flush anything down the toilet. Please do not throw your wipes down the toilet at all. And the last part of that is, as we have found, when they collect together, they will clog our main lines. And when they clog our main lines, it can back up into homes, which causes for either large insurance claims or large claims that we have to pay ourselves. So that's why I say, wipes, I don't care what they are, go in the trash.
Thank you, Kenny.
You're welcome.
Any questions?
I did have one question. The Capitol Avenue force that you spoke of, I know that during Second Street there were boxed things that you found and sewer things that you upgraded. Will you be doing the same when and working with the state when Capitol Avenue is also in that area, or is there anything along that areas that we can save money on as far as going in when they start Capitol Avenue renovations?
Well, this is a continuation of the Second Street project, actually, because what we did, we knew that we couldn't get all of this done before the Tiger Grant was completed.
Okay.
So what we did is we went ahead and installed an empty force main. It's already in the ground. So one, that we didn't have to dig back up Second Street, because obviously you don't want to do $12 million worth of work and then we go through and dig it right back up. So we did install that. This is just to get both sides of it completed, so it's there, and it's still going to sit empty for another year or two until we can actually get the plans and specs ready for the new split pump station.
Okay.
And how do you estimate are those rock sewers on Broadway, and
How
old?
How old? They're going to go back probably pre-1900 if I had to guess.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we're missing as far as the pump station, the one that you just showed us with the sensor and the baby wipe? Is there, you said that it ran for 12 hours. Is there anything that we could purchase to alert someone that, hey, this has been running and this doesn't seem right, like, and it,
We
for
are
us
in
not
the
to do
process,
it 12 hours? But
yes. We are in the process. Those are the oldest technology, and we only use those on our smaller pump stations now, mostly. But we do use them as a backup because we use radar technology now for our pump station. So we have a radar level sensor. It tells the PLC what it is. But for the older stations that are only they're only switch based, we can't use those at this point because it doesn't have the PLC in there. So we are in the process. Every pump station that we can replace the floats in, we do. But it's it's an added cost as well. So.
Right. Okay. That's all I have.
Well, this is a lot of projects and a lot of money, and it sounds like most are covered, but there may be some more not covered. When do we need to start planning for some of that?
Once we get our rate study, we will definitely have more information to give you on that. That's going to be the key.
You were going to say about 3 months to get the rate study completed?
We'll have it done before we pass the new budget, yes.
Okay. And we'll come back and present that to the Board of Commissioners.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good information. And we'll go on to action items. Number 5.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff is seeking approval to complete phases 3 and 4 of the tree canopy plan and to enter in a contract with Woodland Tree Care. Funds for this project are available in the Bluegrass Community Fund, the Frankfort Tree Planting Plan, and the amount of $30,598, as well as the remaining amount will come from the forestry budget at $40,330. Total cost is just a little under $71,000.
Motion to approve.
Motion, Commissioner Waldridge, and a second, Commissioner Thompson. Is there any discussion?
I had a question.
Commissioner Unger.
I was wondering, I know we did an RFP for this, and I know we're working with Woodland, but I was wondering if we've lost any trees since the storms we've had, or if there was any damage, or we need to look at maybe someone lost a big tree in South Frankfort, maybe we need to plant one there in the future. So just maybe even like updating the plan we have might need to be looked at some point.
Yeah, I don't think we've lost any like trees we've planted because of the storm.
Oh, yeah.
I know we lost trees in general from
Right.
the storm, obviously.
Right.
I'm not sure like in the right of way exactly, but we can definitely look at that and see. Alex has all those numbers and takes all the calls and keeps all the logs and stuff. So.
And I was
Yeah, we
also wondering, like, it looked like on Murray Street, that was one street where there were no trees for the phase 3 and 4. Is that just because there's no right of way?
I believe
in front
so.
of houses?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes, it gets really tight and there's just no
Okay.
grass to plant.
All right.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion or questions? If not, we have a motion and a second.
Call the
I'll ask
question.
our city clerk to call for the vote.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Unger?
Yes.
Commissioner Waldridge?
Yes.
Sorry. Commissioner May?
Yes.
Mayor Wilkerson?
Yes. Motion carries. Action item number 6. First reading, looking for a sponsor.
I'll sponsor.
Commissioner Waldridge is the sponsor.
An ordinance rezoning property located on Wilkinson Boulevard with the address of 954 Wilkinson Boulevard, more specifically described as PVA map number 061000080, from high-density multifamily district to general industrial district. This ordinance approves a zone map amendment for the property with the address of 954 Wilkinson Boulevard, more specifically described as PVA map number 061000080, from high-density multifamily district to general industrial district.
Thanks, Commissioner Unger.
I just want to make a comment that I appreciate that we put this on the agenda early in the month instead of waiting until the voting meeting 2 weeks later, because I can't wait for them to get started. Pittsburgh.
Definitely.
Rather than wait 2 months for a zone change, you can
Right.
do it in 1 month if we did this way. And I do have one question. Did we do a zone change on this property before?
Yes.
We've already
Yeah.
done one zone change, right? And now we're
Just for the house.
going back.
Yep.
Okay, that's it. We adapt. Any other discussion?
Look how working with the city is fast.
Okay, well, we
I'm
don't need to
excited.
vote on this one, and yes, was that Daniel Boone Distillery?
Yes.
All right, action item number 7. Another first reading, looking for a sponsor.
I'll sponsor.
All right, Commissioner May.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 9, 2022 series, appropriating the revenue to be received by the city of Frankfort for the fiscal year 22-23. This ordinance amends ordinance number 9, 2022 series, appropriating the revenue to be received by the city for the fiscal year 22-23 by adding the following expenditures and transfers as noted. General Fund, $687,171, aggregate total. Transfers from General Fund, $95,000 to Capital Improvements, aggregate total. Capital Improvements, $95,000, aggregate total. Municipal Aid, $353,815, aggregate total. And by adding the following revenue and transfers as noted above. General Fund, $160,552, aggregate total. And Municipal Aid, $353,815, aggregate total.
Any discussion on this first reading? Okay, that'll conclude our action items, and we can talk about our next agenda for the voting meeting. Looks like we have a couple of second readings of zone change, budget amendment, Crown Act. Commissioner Unger.
I had sent an email out to the board about an amendment to the Walk Bike Frankfort, basically their master plan, because they haven't redone that in a few years. So they sort of it's called the Millville Trail. So I'd like for people to review that, because the state, or KYTC, is going to be looking at the East-West Connector Bridge that goes from Old Lawrenceburg Road over to Capitol View Park. So if everyone could look at that, and if there's support, I'd like for us to maybe pass a resolution that would add that as an amendment to the Walk Bike Master Plan. So the state knows we are supportive of a potential future pedestrian walking space on a future bridge on the connector.
I
Nothing
can send out
further?
an email and check to see if the will of the board, and
Sure.
then if there is, we can put it as a resolution.
Thank you.
Yes.
I had talked to City Manager Haig earlier, and I had talked to the mayor at some point earlier in the week about the discussion about the opioid settlement resolution. I know that Chief Monroe and Chief Bowman are working together with the city manager and her office to make sure that we are preparing all the proper documents that need to be handled in a succinct order to make sure that I know that we have already voluntarily submitted that we want to be a part of that. I think that we should make sure that we do everything we can to make sure that it be known that we are working to seek what is rightfully ours because of the opioid crisis in Frankfort. The other issue is that we have a police officer that will be retiring or resigning to take a position in between now and the next time we meet. He has been an absolute joy to work with. He's also become a good friend of mine. I think he is one heck of a great guy and a hero. He served on the in the New York Fire Department around 2001, around September 11th.
Commissioner Thompson, not to
Yes.
cap you off, but it's taken care of.
Okay, but I just wanted to say that I just wanted to say that I appreciate Officer David Duncan
Yes.
and all that he has done for the community, and we will miss him as a valuable resource to this community. He is taking a job that is something that is a dream of his, and I'm looking very forward to see everything that he does with the Breeders' Cup. So, thank you, Officer Duncan, for your work.
I know, it's sad.
That's a good point. Yeah, I were gonna put that on the next meeting, but he's gonna retire before that next meeting.
His last day is Monday the 20th.
Okay. Congratulations. Maybe we can see him at the next meeting, but
Hopefully.
he'll probably be
I think he
long
will.
gone.
Yeah.
Probably he's packing his bags.
Yeah.
No, I would like to add that I appreciate his service here. He's been one of my close ones, and he made a really big difference in my son's life, and he's just so interactive with the community one-on-one, and just a great canine officer as well with his pup. And yeah, my kid, he loves him to death, and we still have his little inspiration. He wrote my son in an issue that happened with another child, and so he's going to be missed in our whole community.
Agreed.
But I'm excited for him. So.
Let's see, any other for the next meeting? Flock cameras, DEI audit, contract amendment, that was, so we'll look at that for the fire station. We need to review that before.
Please.
Any
Enroll.
other-
Enroll
Enroll
contract.
contract,
Crown.
Crown. That's a good start.
I think that I know that Mayor, you and I have been in conversations, definitely with the city manager as well in regards to House Bill 182. I think I won't go into big discussion, but I think that may be something that we look into to maybe write a resolution to not support House Bill 182. That's in regards to annexations for cities. So I've been pushing a little bit more in the policy area. It's something that we as a city, since we're right here in the capital, to do. And so I'm making a priority of paying a little bit more attention to our policies. And I think that you and I both agree on not supporting this. So I won't go into huge detail, but I think that that's something maybe that we can start
We're
looking at
against it.
something. So we are completely against it. Maybe a resolution just to
I'm against
support that before it goes up for a vote with the Capitol. So.
Speaking for me, I'm against it.
Business?
Any other business before we move on to executive session? Yes.
Just
City Manager.
wanted to answer a question, Commissioner Thompson. We just actually received word last week that we received $150,000 from Recreational Trails Program from the Department of Local Government that's dedicated towards Schenkel Lane
Oh,
sidewalk.
Thank you.
We'd asked for about 220, but we received 150, but that still should be enough that we'll be able to, and we will match it.
That is
But
fantastic. Thank
I
you
wanted
very much.
to put that in there that, yes, we've received word last
Thank you.
week.
I will say that every day
It's much
I,
needed.
I see children and families who are walking from the apartments and from Indian Hills, and it has been needed for many, many years. So the fact that that is happening, I cannot express how happy I am. So thank you very, very much for your hard work on that.
Good work. Yes.
Mayor, my only question is that, in regards to the downtown parking, I think there's still some questions that are still being asked and confusion. So I just want to ask a question. We're very clear that the parking downtown is a non-cumulative
Yes,
2
yes.
hours. Is that correct?
Yes,
So we have a yes from the mayor and the city manager.
yes.
Because this is not being communicated from Laz to people that are reaching out. So I just want to clarify that so we can get them on board with that communication, so there's not a confusion anymore. That we are very clear, this is not a cumulative, this is 2 hours here, and if you go somewhere else and sit 2 hours, that's fine. But I think there's still some grumbling on people, I think, speaking out to Laz or questions being asked, and I just want to get them on board so they can
Yes.
stop worrying our community with that.
I'll have them follow up.
What's that little metal
And maybe Laz said that in a meeting and.
Yeah.
But no, we'll ask them
Okay.
to be clear in their communications that it's not cumulative of just 2 hours.
Yes,
That
I still think there's some, I know that we've said that, but there's still some
It's
confusion for some
certainly our
reason. so-
intent.
Yes.
Right, I mean, we can, if for some reason that they're incorrectly doing it, we can.
We should have Eric
obviously
do a commercial.
Right. That's our intent. Any other business before we move on?
The only other thing that was brought to my attention is if we could get an update on, I think it was Director Beard, on when the structures will be put around the bus stops. The other day, when all this rain started coming in, there were people standing in the area of CVS, and the CVS person was like, "Hey, you guys can come in and stand," because there was no protection, and so it's just when those are going to happen, so we can let the community know that protection is coming while they're at the bus stop. So, but that's all.
Any other?
Mayor, I make the motion to go into executive session, KRS 61.8101C, litigation related to Kyle Thompson and claims brought against the city. Action may be taken in open session.
Second. A motion to go into executive session, a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, we're now in executive session. You want to take 5 minutes? No action will be taken this evening.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Have a great week.